And we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Movie Mania live stream. I am your temporary host until Trey gets here. He should be here shortly. And we're going to talk about movies past, present, and future. And with me is a very tired, very exhausted Trilby. How you doing, Trilby?
Oh, it's just another day in the life of Trilby. I'm doing okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm currently using hotel Wi-Fi as I'm away for work at the moment. I've worked a full day and then I sleep for 2 hours and then I podcast. I work hard and I podcast hard, everybody. I'm living the rock and roll lifestyle. So, and also I may sound a bit quiet because it is 2 o'clock in the morning in my hotel and I'm trying to be a bit courteous to any people who may be my neighbors.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, so yeah, I didn't. It was sad for me to miss last week, but I don't want to miss another week because this is a genuine highlight. I love doing the podcast, so I don't want to miss this for the world.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Just can everybody hear us in the comment section? Because people are like, they're late. I'm like, no, we're here. We're here. Is everyone there?
I've just tested it on, and I can hear us. I think that works.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. So, yes, we are here to talk about Deadpool 2. And I got to say, yeah, I was very happy to get that message from you that you're coming at great personal risk to yourself, because with Trey away, I was like, oh no, the first 20 minutes is just going to be me by myself going, there's lots of dubstep jokes in this movie.
That scene was funny. Remember the scene when...
Remember that bit? Remember that? I'm sure if they were here, they'd remember it as well. So when you sent me that message, I kind of reacted like Deadpool when Colossus shows up at the end. I'm just like gently cradling your face, making gestures with scissor fingers.
Yeah, and I have to get the pole out of your head.
Well, thank you to all of our listeners. I think we've got about 9 at the moment, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's 17 watching now.
Yes, we are growing. We are increasing. So I do.
The dubstep army awakens.
Oh yes. Well, I do have. Now, I did promise everyone that I'd have the sound drops and the intros all ready for this week. I don't, because because while Trilby is incredibly disciplined and devoted to the show, I of course am not. And I have some very important Minecrafting to do when I should have actually been rigging up these. But on the plus side, my Minecraft world is starting to look very nice. Maybe I should make some Minecraft videos.
You don't just have your Minecraft world being screen shared right now and you just play Minecraft at the same time as we're doing the podcast.
Oh, don't give me ideas, Well, let me check up. Let me... where is it? I got to remember how to do this. Okay. So here we are, Movie Mania live stream. See, I was trolling trolling Trey and Jack, our guest last week, with every time they were talking about Jurassic Park, I was putting up like shirtless pictures of Jeff Goldblum just to throw them off their game. And Jack was in the middle of this really great, really eloquent description of like Jurassic Park, and Trey just looks at Goldblum, shirtless Jeff Goldblum on the screen. He's like, "What are you doing? Could you stop that, please?" So I will continue to do that this live stream.
During I can see the title card now on the screen, and I actually had this thought a few days ago, saying, "Oh, when we podcast about this, whose face is going to be over who?" Because I can imagine Bandit putting his face over Deadpool, but am I going to be Domino or is Trey going to be Domino? And I'm so happy that I am Cable.
Well, I try to alternate it because I don't want to put me in the middle all the time. So like with Ready Player One, I had you there, and I probably should put Trey in the middle, but it just felt right putting him on Domino because I'm racist. There we go.
Yeah, and because Josh Brolin's jacked Cable body is so accurate to me.
Yeah, well, you do kind of fit well on there. It just looks right.
Suspiciously so.
Yeah, it's a chiseled jaw,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's do some movie news. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready when you are.
Okay, movie news. Now, there is Deadpool 2 is doing very well overseas, doing very well internationally. In fact, proving that 2016's Deadpool was no fluke and there really is audience demand for a foul-mouthed superhero who makes sex jokes and breaks the fourth wall. I'm reading the article in case I'm talking weird. Deadpool 2 debuted this past weekend to a stellar box office, finally dethroning Avengers Infinity War from the top spot at the box office. Apparently it's doing really well internationally, not as well domestically as the last one did, which is a little surprising. But considering it is coming out at the same time as Infinity War, I guess it's not that much of a surprise.
Yeah, because the original Deadpool came out in February for Valentine's Day, roughly, and it used that Valentine's marketing campaign incredibly well. Whereas this summer is it's stacked. It's why I think Avengers: Infinity War is still going to make a lot of money, but over the next few weeks is going to really tumble out of the charts, really, because next week you've got Star Wars, then a couple of weeks later you've got The Incredibles 2. You're going to have all of these films cannibalizing each other. So Deadpool 2, even though it's doing well, is only really going to have another week really to make some box office money before Star Wars comes along, and that's projected to do really well also. So I wasn't expecting it to beat box office records, even though it's just as good as the original film and the marketing was just as good. It's just timing, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's what they do. I mean, once a movie comes out and it's really popular, they stack it up against the other popular movies because everything's got to be in its own league. So I'd be interested to see what movies they put the next Star Wars movie up against. Segue. Because this is a news story that's a little bit old, but I think it kind of connects to Deadpool 2, which is with Han Solo story. One of the writers has confirmed that Lando Calrissian is pansexual, just like Deadpool. What is pansexual? It's Deadpool. It's where you're turned on by pretty much anything. Whenever he's feeling the buzz, he just goes with it. You know, whether it's unicorns, presumably not children or animals, but he's whatever. So Lando pansexual. That's yeah.
Well, it's not exactly.
I always thought he was just heterosexual. The way he cracked on a Princess Leia. I figured, he's a pants man. He's a ladies' man. But apparently, he's an everything man.
Honestly, it's not something that I previously thought of. But when somebody when this issue came up, or when this news story came up, I thought, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, you've got all of these different alien species who coexist, and Lando probably will bang all of them. I'm happy with that. Whatever makes him happy. Like in the first series of Doctor Who, there's a character called Captain Jack, played by John Barrowman, and he's pansexual as well. And his introductory episode is a massive metaphor for sex, and he's from the 51st century. And they're like, oh, he's a 51st century guy. He's just a bit flexible when it comes to dancing. So many species, so little time. And it kind of makes sense when you are inhabiting the universe and you've got a lot of love to give. You probably don't discriminate. I think it makes sense.
I guess in a universe like that, Captain Kirk did kind of set the stage, didn't he, with his green space ladies and all the weird and wacky stuff that goes on there.
Yeah, I think if someone had said, like, I don't know, like Luke Skywalker, old man Luke is pansexual, and that includes the weird blue milk creature, then I probably might have thought, I don't know if that's in character, but for Lando, I think it is in character. I mean, if you're going to make any character in the Star Wars universe a pansexual, he's the most likely one.
Well, I mean, setting aside how weird it is that sexual preferences is now apparently a thing that you need to talk about in Star Wars movies. But, when you think about it, like maybe Luke Skywalker's pansexual as well, with that weird sea cow thing that he was suckling off. I mean, I know he's used to drinking the blue milk from his moisture farm, but I don't want to know what other forms of moisture he was farming from that sea cow thing. That's forever changed my view of Luke. That
Well, this whole discussion about Lando has branched off into another discussion I've seen online about how you have characters like Lando Calrissian, like Albus Dumbledore, and like many other characters who off screen are said to be gay or like or at least not straight. And then all of a sudden, it's not ever mentioned in the film. It's only mentioned outside of the film. So it's kind of like, oh, we're trying to have our gay cake and eat it as well. And it's even though they don't want to mention it on film, but they still want the kudos, they want the credit, which kind of makes it feel a little bit insincere. Even if, in my opinion, it makes sense for Lando, you either kind of hint at it or you like it feels like a cop out, really.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of does, yeah. But on Solo news, just recently, I just checked Rotten Tomatoes for or tomatoes. I've checked Rotten Tomatoes.
That was so Australian.
Well, the Australian one is tomatoes because it's got to be all nasally. Tomatoes, the American one. So I checked.
When you put it into your web browser, you have to spell it tomatoes. TOMAR.
Well, so far only critics have seen it. The score it has, the Han Solo movie, the score it has is amongst critics, I think it's about 70, and amongst audience, where it says, because until it comes out, the audience score doesn't come in, but the want to see it is, I think, about 41%, putting it lower than The Last Jedi. And a lot of that could be angry, vindictive fans like me who are like, where I'm just like the Joker and I just want to watch it burn. I'm just like, yes, let it all burn down. Because I just like to see Kathleen Kennedy get what's coming to her, Not because I didn't like The Last Jedi, but because her and many of the other writers have been total dicks to the fans. So, yeah, I want to see some good old-fashioned trolley vengeance enacted on Solo.
Yeah, so I'm not part of the camp who thinks that the current crop of Star Wars is terrible and insulting. For the most part, I actually think the weakest current Star Wars film is The Force Awakens, which tried to be the most welcoming and most supportive of the fandom, if that makes sense. But for Solo, a Star Wars story, even though it has a 71 on Rotten Tomatoes, the average score is around 6. So it's getting okay reviews. It's getting mixed reviews. A lot of the people that I've been reading or watching are saying stuff like, it's fine, it's an okay space adventure.
Yeah.
Anything more than that, you're going to be a bit disappointed, which it kind of makes sense for a film with such a troubled production. But with Star Wars, if they have too many films like this, it could dilute the brand. And depending on how the box office run for this film goes, as we've seen with Deadpool, even no matter how great your film is, you could still perform below expectations. In such a crowded summer, it may make them rethink what source material they adapt or what stories they do going forward with these spin-off, with these Star Wars story films.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm expecting it to just be just okay, but it's going to be, occasionally there's movies where it's not just about the movie, like Black Panther. That wasn't just about the movie. As the movie, you're like, yeah, it's good, but it was about more than that. And again, in a negative direction would be the Ghostbusters remake. So much of the reaction to that had pretty much nothing to do with the movie itself. Like I said, the movie itself was just okay. It was the drama around it, and I do think a similar thing's going to happen with Solo. And I'm just going to sit there with my bourbon and Coke and just go, and just sip my bourbon as I watch it burn down. And whoever that guy who's playing Han Solo, as his career is just crushed and shattered in front of him, I'm just going to come and tap dance on the broken pieces and just be like, yes, your dreams are destroyed. Even though it's really not his fault.
I was going to say, that's harsh for Alden Ehrenreich, because he from what we've done, what he has done in the past, he seems to be a nice guy, a good actor. He was good in Hail Hail Caesar, which was like his breakout role. But I agree that with something like Star Wars, there's the film, and then there's the whole narrative surrounding the film. And just because you may be part of the cultural conversation does not always mean critics will go easy on you. Like A Wrinkle in Time, which people only like Black Panther because it's got black people in it, and critics are SJW liberals. And then A Wrinkle in Time comes out a few weeks before and gets like 30 on Rotten Tomatoes, and they think, oh, okay, that argument doesn't stack up because that's a black woman director who did Selma, and that was like what's touted as a progressive film for Disney, and critics were like, nah, it's not that good. And I'm inclined to agree. I saw Wrinkle in Time, and it was an ambitious failure, but yeah, it's still a failure.
Yeah. Just in the comment section, Hulk Pooza says, I thought Bandit liked The Last Jedi. What happened? Yes, I did. I did like it. My initial reaction after I left the theater was like, oh, that's great. But it was one of those movies where I'm like, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, they could have done that differently. Hang on, I just got an email. Maybe that's Trey. No, it's not. So yeah, it's
coming in like at the end of The Last Jedi to try and correct your wrong opinion on the movie.
Well, I said
he comes into my hotel room, kisses me on the forehead, and goes out onto the battlefield.
Also, to someone in the chat who said my cat died today. Our sympathies, especially my sympathies with my avatar there. A lot of apologies. It's like it sucks when a cat dies. Dogs, not so much. But cats,
no sympathy from me. The last time I lived with a cat, it shit in my bedroom, like the day I was leaving. And it was a really stressful day because I might have told this story before. Me and my partner moved to our flat, and we were told for months that it was a furnished property. We turn up on the day, and the place is empty. And we have to decide whether or not we're going to take the property, and we did in the end. But we went back to my old place to meet my flatmate to pick up a few things, and the cat shat on my bedroom floor, and I did not need that nonsense today. I did not need that day.
Oh, man.
So no, I don't care that your cat died.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's right.
I'm not happy it died, but I don't care.
Speaking of dead cats, Deadpool 2, yeah, perfect segue there.
Oh, that would have been such a good segue for the movie trailer.
I was trying to think of something, but I was like, I'll just talk about it. No, it's like what you said before about the, you were mentioning about the hatred of the SJW stuff in Star Wars, because, I don't really like the SJW stuff, but there was actually quite a lot of that in Deadpool, but I didn't mind it in Deadpool. And I've been racking my brains. I was like, why is it they can put that stuff in Deadpool and I'm totally fine with it, but then they put it in the Star Wars movies and I'm like, get that out of here. I guess it's just whether it's fun or not. I guess maybe it's just that old thing of if you're enjoying yourself enough, you don't really care. So I guess it's all in the execution.
Yeah, maybe. And also because Deadpool is throwing so many things at the table. It's throwing everything at the dartboard and hoping that it all sticks. And it ends up just becoming another one of those things within the movie. And at that point, you kind of roll with it. I mean, after the Basic Instinct scene, you're basically up for anything that film is going to throw at you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that made me uncomfortable, that scene. I was like, oof, yeah.
But kudos on their commitment to the bit.
Yeah, totally. But we'll talk about that in spoilers. Now we can jump into. I don't think there was any more news. There was only something about the Aquaman trailer coming out, but who cares? Like they have some plans for that, but who cares? It's only Aquaman.
I think we might get the Lego Movie 2 trailer tomorrow or the day after because they dropped the title and the first poster for it. It's going to be called The Lego Movie, the second part.
Oh, I like that. I see what they did there. That's really good.
And we also got a trailer for Mowgli, which just looked like a trailer for Disney's Jungle Book remake, but with the brightness turned down a few notches.
Yeah, I saw that. I was scrolling through on my phone today. I was like, what is that? So I was meaning to watch that, but I'll watch it later. So I was thinking,
my favorite reaction came from Sam, who I used to podcast with. He just put in capital letters, "Oh, how embarrassing," which I think was just the best reaction.
Yeah. When you were away last week, I messaged Sam on Twitter. I was like, "Do you want to come and replace Trilby?" It'd be like 2 a.m., but I did it like an hour before the the live stream, so I didn't see it till afterwards. So I was like, "Oh well, never mind." So maybe someday, yeah. So we can do some homework until just biding a little time until Trilby gets here, because I don't know if you noticed or not, but I watched your video about the problem with Apu, and that inspired me to go watch the documentary and make my own video about it. And I actually agree with you on a lot of stuff. We could talk about that.
I need to watch your video. Yeah, I need to watch your video.
That's all right.
But
I can just tell you what I thought.
Yeah, but you can give me like a rundown of your thoughts on it. Yeah, it'll be, because even like I think regardless of the whatever side of the debate anyone falls on, I think it's still a discussion worth having. Yeah, and that was kind of my umbrage, that people were just not even willing to have that discussion.
Well, I mean, I was not willing to watch it at all until I watched your video, and you said it was fair. And you're right that he does anticipate a lot of the counters that people are going to have. Like he says, "Yes, I do know that every single character in Simpsons is a stereotype," and I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "And no, I'm not a snowflake," and I'm like, "Well, you kind of are." But it was, but then he does bring up some good points where he's like talking to all of the different Indian actors who've like comedians and actors and all that, and every single one of them is like, "Yeah, when I was a kid, everyone was like, 'Thank you, come again,' and I was like, oof, yeah." Like, I mean, that's definitely true. But one of the things I talked about though is I was like, there's a difference between, I was like thinking with Apu, I was like, yeah, they say it's not good to be a stereotype, but there's a difference between being a stereotype and being just a stereotype. Like Apu, if all we knew about Apu was that he's the Indian guy in the Quickie Mark, then he'd be a stereotype. But because he's had like many episodes devoted entirely to him, and I view him as like a fully fleshed out, fully rounded character. And so I would say he's not really a stereotype. And that if you were to take away the stereotypical elements of him and make him just kind of like a regular dude who just happens to be Indian, he wouldn't really be special. He wouldn't really be memorable. So it's kind of a pick your poison kind of thing. Like, do you want to be stereotypical and have people know who you are? Or do you just want to be a normal guy and then make no impact in the culture? So it's kind of a, pick your poison. Which way do you reckon he clarifies as an actual stereotype? I mean, he is.
Well, yeah. He's indisputably a stereotype, but you are right in that he's in regards to the show, he's a very well developed character who's had a lot of growth over like the multiple seasons. He became a legal American citizen. He got married. He's had several kids. Octuplets. He's got like an extended family. So yeah, he's one of the more well-defined supporting cast members. It's just that a character like Apu is a bit of an anomaly in the popular culture, which is why I think this is such an interesting discussion, regardless of what side you fall on it. Because when Hank Azaria was doing the table read for an episode, because Apu wasn't even named in that episode. He wasn't even named in the episode. He just did an Indian accent randomly, and the table laughed, so he just kept it in, and that's how Apu was born.
But the guy's saying to him, he's like, he tries in the documentary, he tries to make it seem racist. The guy's like, look, there are certain accents that are just funny. And I was like, it's like true. Cletus's accent is funny. People find Australian accents funny. Just that's not racist. Some certain accents, there's certain accents that are funny in different contexts. Like if your brain surgeon walks in and he's like, "Howdy, y'all, I'll be your brain surgeon for today." Like, he could be the smartest guy in the world, but the accent's gonna spin you out.
That actually does sound like a funny skit. You should write that down.
Yeah, it would be.
But yeah, and you're right. And in the 90s, when a joke like that, or when an observation like that's like, there's a lot of Indians in our convenience stores nowadays. Oh, that's a thing I've noticed. That's when that kind of joke would easily fly. But then 30 years later, he's still around.
Sorry to the Southern American in the comment section who's upset now that I did that voice. Sorry, Drew. Please go ahead. You versus me. My apologies.
Says why you got to make fun of the South man with a sad face. but Apu is an anomaly, because what happened is that you had this rather like outdated stereotype, even though he's a well-defined character and he's a fan favorite, the show kept going and Apu stayed
Yeah.
the same in a way, and
That's true.
it's why this
Most
is
shows
it's
don't
such
go
an
that
anomaly.
long.
Yeah,
Yeah, because normally, like, you'd have a character like Apu in that show, but it wouldn't still be around. Because Simpsons are still around, though. You got to keep Apu the same. I mean, they've developed him more. So yeah, you're right. It is an interesting cultural anomaly. But I did,
and also guess the fact that The Simpsons is like so committed to trying to keep the status quo, like it's got all the same voice actors. The characters, with one or two exceptions, have not aged. So Apu, by like the laws of a cartoon universe, has been forced to stay the same. So that's why this sort of discussion has sort of like been bubbling under the surface for like that demographic of Indian or like Asian comedians or like people from Asian cultures, and it like now that we have like Twitter and Facebook and social media platforms, those people who have had those grievances for a while actually have a voice now. So it's not just people are getting too sensitive now. It's the fact that we actually can hear those people for the first time.
well, see, that's the thing. Is like when he talks about like people getting bullied with Apu and this and that and all that, and I was like, but then when he talks about representation, it's like, oh, we don't have enough representation. I'm like, dude, you have Bollywood. You have an entire bloody industry devoted entirely to Indians, yet it's not good enough. You're still complaining about, oh, we've got to get in Hollywood in America. Dude, I don't go to India and say, hey, there's not enough white guys in your movies. So, see, this is what drives me nuts. Is like he comes out and he's like, "Oh no, I'm not a snowflake. I'm not a cuck." And I'm like, "Well, first you're misusing cuck. Like you're a snowflake, but a cuck would be someone who caves into what your demands are. So he's misusing that word." But I'm like, "No, you don't get to decide that, mate. You don't get to decide whether you're a snowflake or not. We decide if you're a snowflake or not." And I'll tell you, I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast before, but I've actually been to India 3 different times growing up because my mum was a hippie. She followed like a certain Indian guru who was over there. Been to India 3 different times as I was growing up. Grew up around a lot of Indians. Actually learned how to play sort of the Indian tubla, the drums. And so grew up around Indians my whole life. And I've never, ever, ever thought of Indians as victims. Never. Because you go to see the doctor, he's Indian. Go to see a lawyer, he's Indian. Dentist, Indian. They're everywhere. They're doing great. They're doing really great. I've never thought of them as victims. I've thought of them as successful people. But this guy has, like, even when I was in India and there's like people in poverty, I'm like, even though they're in poverty comparative to the West, like they're hustlers, man. Like they're out there and they're like hustling and they're selling. They're like, would you like to buy this? And I'm like, he's made that. He's pieced together stuff and made that jewelry and he's out here selling it. I'm like, good for you, man. Like I was like, they're not victims. Like even when they're poor, they're hustlers and they're resourceful. And I was like, so it's like so much of your reality is based on how you view it. And I was like, you could, being Indian or Indian American or whatever, he could view it he could look at that incredible success story of Indians, but instead he's like, oh, there aren't enough Indian people. I'm going to complain about Apu. It just seems like a weird posturing to take. And
once again, it's about how unique Apu is within the culture, because when The Simpsons was coming into its own in like the late 80s, the early 90s, if you wanted if the Indian community in like wanted representation, Apu was it. Apu was the beginning and the end of that. Whereas nowadays, that like you have like several comedians. You've got Aziz Ansari in like Parks and Recreation and Master of None. You've got like several like TV shows with like Indian supporting characters, and you've got it's like you've got several like it's still not let's say like a treasure trove of characters, but it's progress. It's you're still getting more representation, but Apu is kind of staying the same, and it's why it's an interesting thing. Like I don't entirely disagree with you. And I it's just the idea that Apu is a really weird anomaly in culture, and it's also just interesting that the problem with Apu documentary is what I think could be the first bit of long-form criticism ever levied at The Simpsons. Which could be why it had such like a bit of a backlash from people who just refused to watch it. They thought, you're criticizing something that I liked as a kid, and if I listen to the argument or maybe agree with it, then a part of my childhood is ruined and tainted. When you can like enjoy something and still criticize certain aspects of it, we do it on this podcast like all the time. Like we like this movie, here's a few things we didn't like about it. Like we do that all the time. So it's just part of how the general like media consuming culture needs to kind of at least listen to certain opinions, even if you don't agree with them. And it's all just about listening to certain perspectives, even if you don't agree, and taking it on board and listening to other voices in media. And I don't think the guy who, what's his name? It was Harry Condabolu. I think that's the name of the comedian. I need to Google it. He's not saying cancel The Simpsons, fire Hank Azaria. Actually, he's not trying to get
at the beginning of the documentary, he says at the beginning of the documentary, he's like, I don't want to ruin the show. I don't want them to get rid of Apu. And then later in the documentary, he's like, yeah, it's time to get rid of Apu. And I'm like, dude, come on.
But I think it's also to like the way he delivers it. Like he's not like trying to rile up torches and pitchforks at the end of Frankenstein and try and kill the beast or whatever. I think he's just trying to get this message out there. And even like Hank Azaria himself, like in the documentary, he doesn't respond because like the whole like the hook of the documentary is they're trying to get an interview with Hank Azaria or try and get him to acknowledge the issue. And Azaria basically stonewalls him, just does not want anything to do with that conversation.
Because why would he want to be on the documentary? Because I mean, he knows that in a documentary they want a bad guy, so they're going to try to paint him as racist. So why would he ever want to go on? So of course you wouldn't.
Well, yeah, I can see why he perceived that, even though I think Harry might actually have given him a reasonably fair shot if he went on camera for the documentary. But now this discussion has kind of become more prominent. He went on the Stephen Colbert show and did an interview, and he said that he would be happy to like oversee a transition to a new actor or some new changes to the character because he's listened to all these opinions and in a way he actually agrees with it. And Hank Azaria had no say over the way The Simpsons responded. The Simpsons had a terrible response to the issue. I've watched the episode they responded to it in, and it's like they're drawing a huge false equivalence. It's just a really stupid and cowardly response, in my opinion.
I think it was the best response they could possibly make.
Really?
This is where I disagree. Because I'm like
in the context of the episode, it was like it was a false equivalency, and it was, and it like there's a. I'll try and just bring up the actual thing because when Lisa says, "What can you do regarding this certain issue?" There's. Let me try and find it. But in recent releases of the Tom and Jerry cartoon, which, like, you know, you've got Tom's owner, who is this stereotypical big black lady. What is it? I'm just trying to find it. Well, I'm just yeah. No, okay. I think I might have found it. In like DVD and home media releases, and if you were to watch an episode of Tom and Jerry on Amazon, a message will come up at the beginning of the episode which says something along the lines of these prejudices and these stereotypes were commonplace in US society, and we do not have these values now. However, to censor them or to try and remove or edit would to deny that these things ever existed. Yeah. And yeah, that is what you can do, Lisa, for lack of a better term. Like, I'm not saying that like Apu is of like the same standard as what was essentially a blackface character in Tom and Jerry. That's not I don't think it's the same thing. But it's like Apu was, for many audiences, okay in the 90s, and he's kind of in a way sort of become a bit problematic now, for lack of a better term. And maybe there is room for change or for growth for The Simpsons. And even Hank Azaria, the voice actor, seems to agree for the most part.
Yeah, well, that's because he's a cuck. I mean, no, I totally disagree. I think that's like the worst thing you can do, because they address the problem with changing Apu in the documentary, they say like, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to change him? But then would you go through and have to change all the other characters? And he admits, he's like, even I don't really know what you can do. And I mean, that's what Lisa says. She's like, what can you do? And look, I mean, as much as this guy might want to say he's not a snowflake, he is a snowflake. And the only way to deal with a snowflake is just don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. Because even when you cave in and you give them what they want, it's still not enough because they just want to complain about stuff. So you can take criticism on board, but don't change the show because this guy will bitch and complain no matter what. His whole career has been bitching and complaining about, oh, I'm Indian. And I found it very, very rich that he didn't mind when he was trying to get his career started. He didn't mind playing up the whole, hey, I'm Indian shtick. He didn't mind it to get his career started, but now that the career's sorted out, oh, I'm there's a big problem with this. I'm going to make a whole documentary about the problem with Apu, probably because I'm not a very funny comedian, so I'm just going to play the victim because that's what you do, right? Because then everyone has to applaud you. And it's like, no, dude.
Well, in fairness, when it comes to comedy, if you are not a white American doing stand-up comedy in American, the first thing you do is like pull the race card in a way. Like even Kumail Nanjiani, who was like a Pakistani comedian, he goes for those jokes. Because they're like it's kind of a good way to get yourself established in the industry and to set yourself apart from like all of the other guys who are going to be taking that stage. Like if you were to do a comedic variety show or whatever, you are probably like it's going to be 20 white dudes and then the Pakistani guy.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to sort of set yourself apart. But I don't want to get like angry about the issue because I don't even think Harry, strictly speaking, does, at least in the context of the documentary. But what he says is that like he preempts an argument and says, "Oh, why don't you just put up with it? Why don't you just deal with it?" And he says, "I have dealt with it for 25 years."
Yeah, and you know what my reaction to that was when I watched the documentary? I was like, "Good, keep it up. Good, keep dealing with it." But it is. I was like, and another way to view it is like, that's true for any group that's trying to like break into Hollywood or the film industry or TV or whatever. Like it does seem to be that you need to have your stereotypical characters in the beginning just to get the foot in the door, and then it expands out. And I think Apu was kind of that. So again, I think that's a more positive way you could have looked at it, that Apu's the necessary evil just to get the foot in the door. And now, you get more well-rounded characters and that's all fine. But again, he doesn't want to do that. He wants to complain.
But it's also it's like when you do have like stereotypical characters in The Simpsons, like you've got Fat Tony, who is the stereotypical mobster, but he is also, in fairness, voiced by Joe Mantegna, who he improvises in the booth. He is actually he actually wants to parody the Italian mobsters that he's always like playing in movies. Like he gets a lot of say in how Fat Tony is portrayed, whereas like a character like Apu, there is no Indian comedian in that writer's room. So in a way, it's even though you can still use the whole everyone's a stereotype in The Simpsons, it's still with Apu, it is still an anomaly. Like that's why this discussion is so interesting. And while I may not agree with all of your conclusions, it's still interesting to have.
Yeah, it is.
It's waking me up.
Totally.
Well, I'm so woke, very literal.
Well, I don't know where Trey is. He must have been really caught up. So should we just jump into Deadpool?
Yeah, I'm up for that. He must have just seen our political discussion and then just walked away, like in the Simpsons episode when Grandpa Simpson goes into the Maison Derriere, takes his hat and coat off, circles around, and then puts it back on and leaves.
He's like that Homer Simpson meme where he walks backwards into the hedge.
Backwards. Yeah.
Right,
someone animate that. We've got talented listeners.
Trilby just disappearing into the hedge. Yeah.
Oh, no, Trey's the one doing it. It's just his face on the Homer Simpson image. Right. That's the second time you've called Trey Trilby in this podcast.
Yes, names are my kryptonite. Sorry about that. All right.
You could probably say Apuna Hasapina Petalon.
Apuna Hasapina Petalon. So, yes, Deadpool 2. So, first we'll cover in non-spoiler, then we'll go spoiler for those who are watching this, probably not live, but later on, and who haven't seen the movie yet. And we'll put timestamps in the description so they can all jump ahead. But Trilby, what did you think the story was? I'm stealing that for the Weekly Planet.
Folks, I hope you've got your Movie Mania bingo cards on you. That's the center square. So, the story of Deadpool 2 is that it's a few years after the events of the first Deadpool, and a personal tragedy befalls the character of Wade Wilson, which the trailers haven't spoiled, so neither will I. Which kind of leaves Deadpool in a bit of a rut, and he comes across this kid played by Julian Dennison, who you'll know as the fat kid from Hunt for the Wilder People. He and Deadpool becomes a trainee for the X-Men, and he tries to protect this kid who's got fire powers from Cable, who is played by Josh Brolin, who is a time-traveling mutant who is going to try and take out this. He's going to take out Julian Dennison in order to stop some apocalyptic future. And Deadpool has to decide how he's going to try and save the kid and save the future. And he sets up an X-Force, and there's a lot of jokes and a lot of violence. It's kind of Deadpool plus more, plus. And there's not much TJ Miller, thankfully. I think he's kind of grating on me now. But Domino is amazing. Colossus is fun. And there's some third act twists and reveals and changes, which we'll get to later. But that's more or less the story.
That's right. What's Yeah, TJ Miller, like...
Take that, Nick Mason.
Good job.
Grab
that gem, guys. So, TJ Miller, like, I'm not up. Has he done something horrible in real life that everyone hates on him now? Like, has he done a Harvey Weinstein or something?
He has done a Weinstein. and also he one other thing he did recently, he was like arrested because he was drunk on a train. He was like in first class on a train, and he got drunk, and he got in an argument with a woman, and the argument got so heated he called the cops on them and said that she had a bomb on the train. And because she didn't have a bomb, he was arrested.
Dude. That is insane. Wow.
I know you were in the Emoji Movie, TJ Miller, but life ain't that bad.
Wow.
But yeah, he was released on $100,000 bond.
She must have really pissed him off for him to do that.
Well, witnesses TJ Miller was like, "Oh, she insulted me. She said this and that." But witnesses were like, "No, TJ Miller just started on her for no reason."
Wow. Wow.
So TJ Miller saw this woman and thought, "I fucking hate her," and he just called the police on her.
Wow, that's okay. Now I get why people don't like him. All right. Well,
and there was also the whole Me Too thing, but that's there's multiple things to not like TJ Miller for at the moment.
Does he can pick your poison many times in that? Does he? The Me Too.
He does. Yeah, he does for like spiking women's drinks. And like
Bill Cosby will be bad behavior. Bill Cosby's pretty. Yeah. You look like you have a cold. Here, drink this. Yeah, there we go.
I got up at 2 a.m. for this.
It's okay if it's random. We're talking Deadpool 2. It did strike me the similarities between the plot of Deadpool 2 and Looper. Very similar.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is that Cable wasn't Deadpool from the future, so he didn't have to fight an older version of himself. But apart from that, it was pretty much the same. Guy goes back in time to kill a kid because the kid's going to do things in the future. Hero has to sacrifice himself.
Oddly enough, Deadpool calls Cable John Connor, and it's like John Connor wasn't the one who went back in time. Deadpool, you did a bad reference.
It's Kyle Reese. Shame on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird that you get a reference wrong because he's very specific with these references.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you though, like I was actually, because while we're in the non-spoiler section, I'll talk about what was at the beginning of the show, the movie. I was a little bit worried at the beginning of the movie because it starts out, again, it's not a spoiler because it's the beginning, with a montage of him going through and killing all these bad guys. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, So is he just a straight up hero now? I was like, because he's supposed to be an anti-hero, right? That doesn't make sense. And I thought maybe he's killing these bad guys under the guise of being a hero, but he's also like stealing their money and cocaine and stuff. So like that's the real reason he's doing it. I'm like, that'd be good, but no, he's just apparently being a hero. And then he gets in the cab with Dupinder. That guy, I'd like to see him again. And Dupinder's like, I want to be a contract killer like you. And he talks him out of it. And I'm like, hold on a minute. You're the guy who talked him into killing that dude in the last movie. And now you're like, no. It's like, what have they done? They've
I think it's because he knows that Dupinder would not survive. Dupinder would not last very long in that lifestyle.
But I was worried at the beginning. I was like, what have they done to Deadpool? But it sets up for his life before versus after a certain event, which we'll talk about in spoilers, that happens at the beginning of the movie. You see, before that, he's trying to be the good guy kind of thing. But then he goes back to being the Deadpool that I was hoping to see.
Yeah, working as like a contract killer, as a mercenary or a hitman.
Do you think Dupinder's a stereotypical Indian? Should we put him in the problem with Dupinder?
he I don't think there's a debate here. He is. The debate is whether or not that's a bad thing.
He's a stereotype, but he's not just a stereotype, so that's cool.
Yeah. He was funny in this.
Yeah, and as with many of the other, as with the last movie of Deadpool, there's a million different references. I actually saw this a second time, and there were so many references I didn't get the first time because he just sort of throws them out. But the first big laugh for me was when he references that he was fighting. He's late because he was fighting a caped badass, but then it turns out his mom was named Martha as well.
Yeah,
I laughed at that. No. I laughed at the bit when he's like, who the hell are you? And he's like, I'm Batman.
I think it's one of the very first shots of the movie. Deadpool has got a wind-up toy, and I want that wind-up toy. I was laughing from like one of the first frames of the film.
Yeah.
I want that toy.
Yeah, the Wolverine fetish continues in this. Do you think they're overdoing it with the Wolverine stuff? I mean, it was funny the first 7 times he did it, but I'm like,
no, I think it's funny, especially with how it pays off near the end of the film. But once again, spoiler section. Like there's quite a few X-Men references and like some cameos and some more stuff for the spoiler section. But if you're gonna be like in the X-Men playground, it makes sense to make fun of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And absolutely. Yeah, and Hugh Jackman is like like one of the motivations for Deadpool in this movie is, believe it or not, that he really like he wants to get revenge on Logan, as in the movie Logan. He wants to try and top Logan because he's like, oh, Logan, they rode my coattails for an R-rated superhero movie, and now we got to do better than that.
I was expecting more references to Thanos, being that Cable's played by Josh Brolin. There was one.
I think they said it once. Yeah. And there was also a certain other line I was confident they were going to have, but maybe they didn't because it was too obvious, which involves a certain notorious line that Vinnie Jones said in a previous X-Men movie. Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I was sure they were going to throw that in somewhere, but they didn't.
Yeah, on reflection, I'm surprised they didn't do that.
Yeah. Well, gee, I don't know. What else can we talk about without using spoilers? I don't know. Well, it feels like we can't say much.
Well, I'd say Deadpool 2 was just as good as the first. It wasn't significantly better. It wasn't significantly worse. And if you liked the first Deadpool, you'll like Deadpool 2 because it is more of the same, except it's a bit more violent. It's got maybe a few more jokes per minute. It's trying to be a lot more narratively ambitious. Like there is time travel, but there's also trying to throw Deadpool into a moral situation and try and make a difference in the world. And he ain't got friends; he's got family. And this like unconventional relationship he's got with 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 like the supporting cast. So if you were just wanting more jokes and more sex and violence, you're going to get that, but whether or not the rest of it lands is going to be entirely based on what you're after for a Deadpool movie and whether or not you think Deadpool fits in that type of story arc. But I really enjoyed it, and I had a really fun time with it.
Yeah, me too. I do think I've I'm glad that he made fun of the. Again, this isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailer. I'm glad that he made fun of the "I'm putting a team together" cliche. Now that's a new movie cliche, but boy, am I sick of hearing that line in movies. We should ban that from movies. Whenever someone says "I'm putting a team together,"
yeah, ban it from movie trailers. Yeah, like even
I'm so sick of hearing that line.
Even in like Thor Ragnarok, and they're like, "So I'm putting together a team." I was like, "You were just part of a team, Thor. You've been in 2 of those films."
Badly, but
Bandit, you cut out for a second.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear me anymore. You cut out for like 10 seconds. I'm scared. I'm worried that I've lost Bandit. Have I lost Bandit? I can't hear him anymore. Can chat help me out? Can people hear me, or can they hear Bandit as well? Folks, I'm scared. I don't want to be on my own. Let's see what the chat said. Bandit, question mark. Engine 1 on fire. I don't know if that's a reference to Bandit maybe not being there anymore. I'm scared. I'm worried. Yeah. Okay. I think the chat is agreed. It is only me. It's okay. Everybody, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Film Brits podcast. I'm your host, Trilby, the cable of film criticism. And yeah, I'm on the Google Hangout now, and it says waiting for people to join this call. Let's try and get Bandit back, shall we? Sing us a song that isn't copyrighted. Don't you forget about me. Don't you. You know, you live a sad life when it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're just singing the Breakfast Club theme to people on YouTube alone in a hotel room. Let's try and get Bandit back. I have the link. Oh, I just signed out of Skype like a minute ago. I need to be able to send him. Oh, Jesse Holt says, Bandit says, Mr. Trilby, I don't want to go. So we need, so what's happened is that Thanos in some alternate reality has clearly just clicked his fingers and Bandit was the collateral damage. So I'll just log on to Skype and send him the Hangout link, see if he can get back on that way. Let it go. We didn't even get to Deadpool 2 spoilers. Oh, Bandit, are you back? I can see his cat face avatar in the Google Hangout. Does that mean he's back?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear him. Yes.
Oh,
we were so worried that Thanos clicked his fingers and you'd gone. That's
no.
What the chat was saying. The podcast was perfectly balanced for a minute.
Oh, good. So everyone in the chat, you can hear me, right? He does. Yeah. Okay, good. Whew, man. I'm sorry about that. My internet's been really spotty recently. It will just drop out randomly and then come back. And I was really hoping it wouldn't do it, but it just did it then. I was just about to go reset the modem and it just came back on. But
I was worried.
Was it just you and?
It was just me for like 3 minutes. I had to entertain the masses.
Oh, cool. So the whole thing didn't drop out. It was just you by yourself.
It was just me. I think it was because you've made me what do you call it, like a moderator on the Hangout.
Turn the controls. All right, cool. Oh, thank God. Well, that's good to know that if one of us loses internet, it doesn't drop everyone out. Fantastic. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you do timestamps for that, and then where like if we do an edited version of this, then we can just cut that whole bit out, unless the listeners want to hear me sing like "Don't You Forget About Me" for 10 seconds, then talk about life. But yeah, good to see you back. Well, and Sam
That's
Heinrich
right, yes.
in Super Chat just donated $10.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you, Sam. That's fantastic, mate.
Yeah, Sam says, just for support and Discord, what did you all figured out about a Discord? We'll probably get to those questions during listener questions at the end, but thank you very much, Sam.
Yes, thank you very much, Sam. We will. We'll make sure to answer any questions from you, Sam, first, because last week, like people did donate the super chat, but it took us a while to get around to it. I was like, that's really kind of a dick move. Like, if people give us money, we should really address their questions first. So don't worry, we will. Thank you, Sam. You're awesome. So,
any more Deadpool 2 spoiler-free stuff before we dive into spoilers?
Yeah, I think when we dropped out, we were talking about, are they overdoing the Wolverine fetish or something like that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that because I don't know. I think just Hugh Jackman is a figure who is amazing and lovely and also can be mocked. So it makes sense.
And he's got a good sense of humor about it too. The good old Jackman. All right. Spoilers.
Do you have the spoiler alarm?
No.
Okay. I say in a hotel room at 3 a.m.
Okay, spoiler alert. Deadpool shows his baby dick. Baby dick. Baby dick.
Yeah.
And it was really awkward.
In the first Deadpool movie, when he gets his hand chopped off, it starts to grow back like a baby hand. He loses his whole lower body.
Yeah.
And
Well, you know what I thought? Because I did think they were going to do the growing back thing, but you know what I thought it was? Because when he blows himself up and he gets blown into pieces and you see his head flies off, and then Colossus comes and grabs him, and the next scene is Colossus is dragging a bag with Deadpool in it, and I thought, oh, he's going to empty the bag and all the pieces will fall out, and he's going to like stitch him back together. And no, just like very next scene, it's just Deadpool's fully healed again. I was like, they missed an opportunity there, because I thought as I was watching it, I was like, they could have had a scene where there was his head and he was growing back his whole body. So Colossus was kind of like just carrying him around like a baby, and he could be like trying to suckle off him and stuff. I thought, oh, missed opportunity. They could have had a bit where he's growing back, but they were saving it for baby dick.
Yeah, I think you do that joke once in the movie, and if you're gonna do it, you do the baby dick version. But when Deadpool comes back to life in the X Mansion, and it's like 2 or 3 days later, so his body has grown back by then. So it kind of makes sense, but at the time in the movie, I thought, oh, they've missed an opportunity. But then when Baby Dick shows up, we know why they did it.
And I was like, well, you could have put in a baby Superman reference, because Kevin Smith always talks about every time there's a movie where they show baby Superman in the pod, baby dick, always baby dick.
Although I'm disappointed that they did the Basic Instinct reference and then actually said, oh, that's a Basic Instinct reference. I think if you're old enough to be in a screening of Deadpool 2, you probably know what film that's from. You don't need to mention the name.
Yeah. Well, right before that, all of them, when they've all got their guns pointed at Cable, they're like having a big argument about who gets to deliver the zinger. Oh dear. So did you see the mid-credit scene? Because I didn't. I walked out and found out about it later, and I had to look it up on YouTube, and fortunately someone had uploaded it. Did you get to see it?
I was gonna say, yeah, you missed the funniest gag of the movie.
Well, it was.
Scene, I was tears of laughter.
Well, I'm glad Peter's alive.
Funniest gag.
But
yes,
doesn't it kind of? And I mean, also, I was like, still, there's that nerd part of my brain that when he shoots the other Deadpool from Wolverine Origins, I was like, he would just heal, like unless you got the adamantium bullets. But even then, he would still probably heal. He'd just lose his memory.
I'd remember in X-Men Wolverine how one of the villains, his superpower is to shoot stuff real good, but they don't give him the adamantium bullet that they already have.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. That
What?
character, it's weird I remember his name. He's called Zero, the sniper, and they don't give
Why
him
do you
the
remember
adamantium.
Zero's name in X-Men Origins Wolverine?
I don't know. I don't know, but I'm ashamed.
Your priorities are weird.
But do you think like he went back and he saved Vanessa? I'm like,
Yeah.
I know in Deadpool you can kind of do what you want, but that sort of ruins the movie for me. I was
Well,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
Part of me's happy about that, but it's bittersweet because I actually think that the Deadpool Vanessa relationship is actually the best comic book romance depicted on screen. Like in the first movie, they
Possibly.
have great chemistry. It's genuine. It's really endearing in a way. So then when she's basically fridged at the beginning of the film, I was like, oh, well, that's a disappointing turn.
Mm.
But now that if she does come back, I'm kind of happy to see that relationship expanded on more. But because it's in the mid-credit scene and it's also one of many jokes in the film, it makes me think: is this a serious revival, or is this just another gag at the end of the credits? Like Ryan Reynolds is obviously not dead at the end of the movie.
Yeah. What's kind of masochistic that he shoots himself from stops himself from doing Green Lantern? Come on, Green Lantern wasn't that bad. I mean, really,
It wasn't that bad, but it just shows that Ryan Reynolds he's not above everything. He's willing to mock himself.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You know what though? That Green Lantern movie, that was a good on paper movie. Like, because it came out not long after Iron Man. And when you watch it back, you're like Ryan Reynolds being the quippy, kind of funny guy in Green Lantern. I'm like, it's like on paper, that's a good idea because you're like, he's kind of quippy and funny like Iron Man. We've got a recognizable name. We can use him to create a fun universe. And like on paper, that's a great idea. It just didn't work.
Yeah, he was trying to be Iron Man, but the main character is Maverick from Top Gun. But they didn't have the budget or the resources to make the film what it should have been.
That's right. It was
in the
like
DCU, we get a proper Green Lantern film.
yeah.
But,
well, maybe now that they've killed off Idris Elba in Marvel, maybe he can come back and be the what's his name, John Stewart, or is that
Jon Stewart?
Jon Stewart, yeah. Isn't that a talk show host? Yeah. The black Jon Stewart, not the white Jon Stewart.
Idris Elba is going to play Jon Stewart, the talk show host who becomes the next Green Lantern.
He's pan-racial. There you go. He can be both.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. Can you imagine Idris Elba whiting up to play Jon Stewart?
I'd love that. I mean, you could probably do that. You could have someone doing whiteface in probably a Deadpool 2 movie. I don't know if you could get away with it in another movie. Imagine that Idris Elba going whiteface. I'm Mr. White Man. I'm doing whitish things. Oh boy, it's bad. Anyway, getting back to the original thing we were talking about, Vanessa's death.
Have you seen the parody like commercial for like the Dance Like a White Guy tape?
No.
Have you ever seen that? Yeah, it's like, oh, you can dance along to all of these songs like a white guy, and here are some of all the moves you can learn: the clap and dance, the spin and point, the clap spin point clap spin.
But, that's right. The key of dancing like a white guy is you don't move your feet. So you move your upper body as much as you can, but very minimal movement on the feet. That's the way that you do it.
Folks who are listening to this on a browser or something who are able to multitask, just like Google the like white guy dancing tape, bookmark it, and watch it after this podcast is over. It's like it's internet humor from like 10 years ago, but it's still funny.
Yeah, my dance move is I do the 2 thumbs up where you flick them over your shoulder, like 2 thumbs up, and then you flick them both over your left shoulder, then both over your right. That's my white guy move.
That's the
that was cringy.
That's whiter than TJ Miller.
Or you can alternate that where instead of thumbs up, you're just like pointing at things, like Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 3 when he's walking down the street and he's just pointing with like the Fonzie gun thing. You can do that. You can switch it up.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me try again. Let me try again to finish this point. Vanessa's death. A lot of people said they hated that she died at the beginning of the movie because they established the romance and the whole thing. I actually really liked it because I've always thought, I was like, I don't really want Deadpool in a committed relationship, because a big part of his character in the comics is he sleeps around. And I think also his memory is affected by the cancer. So I thought it would have been a good thing would have been a good, like, interesting story point if he keeps forgetting her, and he's like, again, that'd make it even more like Looper. And he's like trying to remember the girl he loves. I thought that could have kind of been a tragic thing. But yeah, what do I know? What do I know? They obviously know what they're doing when they're making Deadpool. People love it.
Yeah,
but I'm probably the only person that was glad to see her die and sorry to see her brought back to life.
And I'm on the opposite end. I was sad to see her go, and then happy she was maybe brought back. but what do you think of Cable?
Yeah, I think he was good.
Yeah, just
I
good.
think he was. Yeah, well, I mean, his role is like he's got to be the straight man, but even Colossus used to be the straight man, but he's not really the straight man anymore, pun intended. So yeah, you needed someone that has no sense of humor, and he's just kind of cringing at the stuff that Deadpool does. And I mean, that's what Josh Brolin did, and he did a good job, you know. And I actually liked his reaction at Deadpool. He was kind of just like face palming all the time. He's like, oh.
Yeah.
So I think, that's good. What did you think of Cable?
Yeah, I liked him, and Josh Brolin does the best he can with the material, because Cable, he's sort of like a relic of the terrible 90s of comic books, where Cable in the comics was never been a good or interesting character. He was never a good character until he was paired with Deadpool.
He's just
was essentially the straight guy.
He's dark
and brooding. Gotta
save
from
the
family
universe.
Yeah, that was such a well done line. I kind of wish they hadn't put it in the trailer.
I love the bit where the first time that Deadpool and Cable fight, and he's asking those questions about the future. He's like, "Is dubstep a real thing?" And he's like, "Dubstep is for pussies." And he goes, "How dare you? I love dubstep." And then immediately this bow wow, this dubstep starts playing. And you watch the movie after that. Every time they fight,
which Sharknado are we on?
Yeah. It was really good. It was really good. I loved it. And I loved when they go into the prison, and he's like, "I wonder what gang I'll be in. Where's the sorting hat?"
Yeah. I found it clever how they acknowledged that when they had the mutant suppressant collars, that Deadpool's superpower is essentially super cancer.
Yeah.
So that when he got the collar on, he's basically dying. And it also worked for a setup for him to be able to die at the end of the film.
Sorry, I talked over you. What were we say there?
Well, it also worked as like a setup so that he would be able to take that bullet at the end of the movie and convincingly be able to die from it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, what was your point?
No, I'm just kind of bouncing around all different things. But it's like I was surprised that they did the time travel to bring Deadpool back. I thought what was going to happen was, because he got ripped in half and he regrew his legs, I thought, does that mean his legs are going to regrow his top half? And I thought that's what was. I thought that's how they were going to bring him back. Oh, hang on, my phone's ringing. I'll be right back.
Take the call. Oh, I was hoping you'd take the call on air. So, all right, folks, it's just me and you again. What do you want to talk about? You versus me in the chat says, I feel for the digital artist that had to work on getting Juggernaut's ass photorealistic. Yeah, someone's job had to someone had to render that, and someone probably also had to render Deadpool baby dick. Do you think that's what it was called? When they were doing the rendering files, when they were doing all the post production work, and that was the file name. His mum is going to tell him to stop swearing live. That could be it. Ubermensch Hans 66. But yeah, Hulk Pulsar says, I like how the Juggernaut wasn't in the trailer. Yeah, I think the only thing I heard about the Juggernaut was that there was maybe a rumor that he would be in Deadpool 2, but it was never confirmed because there was no casting news. There was nothing leaked on the set. I think what happened is there was like a photo of Julian Dennison next to a tennis ball, on location, and they thought, oh, so he's with a CGI character. Who could it be? Juggernaut was one of the names tossed around, and that was it. They did a really good job at keeping that secret. It's something I really appreciated. So when he appears in the movie, it's like, oh, it's Juggernaut, bitch, and then they never say, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch, which was very disappointing, personally. You vs. Me asks, was Vinnie Jones the voice? No, Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds was the voice. He did the facial motion capture for Underneath the Mask, and he did the voice for it. So he they just lowered his voice a couple of what would you call it? They just lowered the pitch of his voice. It's how they were able to put in the credits the Juggernaut as himself, because Ryan Reynolds was already credited as Deadpool, obviously. So that's how they did the Juggernaut voice. It was just Ryan Reynolds. Just thinking what to talk about while Bandit's not here. Just gonna sing and dance. The Celine Dion song, Ashes, surprisingly good. Has anyone watched that? Like Celine Dion music video with Deadpool in it, because they've got a full music video with the two, and that's really funny. And the song was surprisingly good. I actually liked the James Bond parody opening, and how the credits were like, because it was shortly after Vanessa's death, so the credits are saying, like directed by, holy shit, did they actually do that? Produced by, well, is she dead? Seriously? I thought that was really funny and really clever. Hook also asks, so was there a Stan Lee cameo in Deadpool 2? He wasn't in it, but a mural was on a wall. I think that was the Stan Lee cameo. Welcome back, Bandit.
I'm back. Yeah. Sorry about that. That was a call. So one of my other jobs is I rig up light and sound at different events, and we're rigging up the lighting at a boxing match. And I was expecting that call. It was supposed to come earlier, so that's why I had to take it. But yeah, they say
we were just talking about the Juggernaut's ass and how someone had to render that.
I love the Juggernaut. I love that. He's like,
yeah,
I'm going to rip you in half now. That is such a Juggernaut thing to say.
But yeah, and it was clever how the voice and the facial motion capture was done by Ryan Reynolds. They just lowered the pitch of his voice, so that in the credits they could say, in the credits it says the Juggernaut as himself.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. So he was a good third act villain, even though people were saying that the CGI was terrible on him. I don't think it was terrible, but it was one of those, this is obviously CGI effects, like Colossal. Like they don't have the budget to do an awesome, great motion capture Thanos, for example, like the MCU has. But for considering the resources, I think they did a pretty good job with it.
Yeah, and I think the guys at the Weekly Planet predicted Juggernaut in it as well, because they figured it out from that painting. Remember the teaser where Deadpool's doing the painting, and there's a shape in it that looked kind of like Juggernaut. So they figured out from that Juggernaut was going to be in it, and we were going to get a comic accurate, ridiculously oversized Juggernaut. But that's when he popped out. That's what I thought he was going to say. It's the Juggernaut, bitch. But he didn't say it. Maybe
it was weird. It was weird they didn't even have Deadpool say that line. I would have settled for Juggernaut saying that line.
Yeah. Maybe they figured that line's just so cringy. Even they couldn't get away with it.
That's why it's great. That's why it's great.
Do you think it's possible that Deadpool and Colossus will be in an actual relationship in the next one? Because after seeing it, I'm like, I wouldn't be that surprised if that was the case.
I think Deadpool will continue to pursue that metal ass, but I don't think Colossal will be up for it.
Yeah, I mean, they brought back Vanessa, so he's going to be with Vanessa, but
that's a really awkward three-way, though, isn't it? I don't think Colossal would be into it.
I don't know. He seemed weirdly into it in this, wasn't it?
I don't know if that's what I'd call into it.
Well, he cares. He seems to care a lot about Deadpool, and I was like, I get that you're the good guy and you think of him as your friend, but you know, there would be a point where you just be like, yeah, okay, he's not going to be an X-Men. But he persists. He persists regardless.
But yeah, you were saying earlier how the film makes fun of the putting together a team cliche, and yeah, that's terrific. How they bring together this team. They have a whole montage of casting like a whole team of X-Force. You've got Terry Crews, Bill Skarsgård. You even got bloody Brad Pitt as Vanisher. And then they just killed off in like before they've even touched the ground for their first mission, they die parachuting in, which I thought was just terrific.
Yeah, I did. Did you recognize that was Brad Pitt as the Vanisher?
I didn't recognize it at the time. It was way too quick.
Yeah,
but now I know
here.
that it is him. I'll be able to look out for it.
Yeah, he's actually hard to recognize because second time I was really looking, I was like, it still doesn't look like him. Maybe because he's being electrocuted, he's making a weird face.
Yeah.
But did we talk about Domino?
We haven't yet. No, she really stole the show. I wasn't expecting to like her as much as I did. Like I've never seen Zazie Beetz in anything. I've not seen Atlanta, although it has recently just been added to UK Netflix now. So I'm gonna try and check it out when I can.
Yeah.
But yeah, her superpower of luck and how everything around her was a domino effect to help her out whatever she needed. It was really clever. She owned the part because she is essentially a walking, talking Mary Sue who knows that she'll be able to walk into any situation and be okay. And she owned that physicality. Like she had that confidence to know that she's going to be okay. It made sense for that character.
It's the best superpower. It trumps all other superpowers when you think about it. I guess it depends on how lucky she is. Like, I guess the more dangerous the situation she gets in, the more luck she would need to get out of it. So maybe there's a certain threshold there she's got to be under before her luck runs out, you know? Because she's not immortal. She's just more lucky than most people. But she was very, very lucky in that. But I liked it. The Black Widow. I hope she's in the next one. That's good.
The Black Widow. There's I don't know if you've ever played Metal Gear Solid, but there's a character called Fortune, and she's got a superpower for having luck. And if you were to shoot her in the game, the bullets would just curve around her. Say in Wanted. So it kind of reminded me of that, although I think Domino was created first. I'd have to double check, but. It was just and Deadpool saying it's not very cinematic power while all this really crazy, insane stuff is happening around her.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm totally up for a spin-off movie for Doopender. Him just murdering people.
And Domino.
Yeah. No, just Doopender. I just want to see him just satisfying that bloodlust of his. I don't know why, but I was really rooting for him. I'm like, I really want to see him kill someone. I want his dream to come true. And he did get it in the end.
I think they should do, you know how there's the Team Thor, short films in the MCU, how Thor is on Earth with Daryl, and Daryl's with the Grandmaster. They should do some Dopinder short films. I'd see
that'd be great. They could make a parody of that for the teaser for Deadpool 3. Maybe instead of an Everybody Loves Raymond, it'd be Everybody Loves Doopender, you know, and he could have his Indian family living across the street, and he's trying to hide the dead bodies so they can't see them. And
he just carries them all around in his taxi, in the boot of his taxi.
Yeah. Well, what'd you think of Fire Fist? The fat kid.
Julian Anderson. I liked him. I think it was well suited to the role as just this kid who's got anger issues and is essentially for lack of a better term, considering what's happened recently, he's basically a school shooter waiting to happen in a way. I think that's the allegory that they're going for. And he played the role really well. He's good at being able to he sees himself as a badass gangster kid. But he's also good at being funny. He walked that line really well in Hunt for the Wilder People, which is probably why he was cast in this as well. So I liked him, and he worked really well with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, and the character he was playing, that's kind of a thankless role and a very difficult character to play because he's got to be sympathetic enough, but also threatening enough, but also funny. but also kind of make you feel sorry for him. It's very difficult to pull off that mixture of all those things together. But I bought it, and I was like, good for him, man. Good for him.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, they kept bringing up with Domino. They're like, what's her cosmic reason for being here? And then when they show up at the orphanage and she's like, oh, I grew up in a place like this. I'm like, is she Fire Fist's sister or something? Like, I thought they were going to do something like that. Like, that's the cosmic reason that she's there. Because, like, that's her little brother. And she's going to be like, oh, cool. And, like, she'll settle him down so that he doesn't kill anyone. But, no, I guess not everyone has to be related. It's not a Star Wars universe. Even a Star Wars universe, not everyone's related anymore.
But I'm just thinking, like, more in the way of cameos. There was Alan Tudyk and Matt Damon. They had the truck that Cable hijacked.
Yeah. I did not recognize them in that.
Neither did I. It's why this film will be so rewarding on repeat viewings. You see the X-Men in the background at one point trying to avoid Deadpool, which I think was one of the funniest. Like,
I forgot about that
gags of the movie.
Yeah,
and they actually have like James McAvoy and Nicholas Hoult and Alexandra Shipp in the background.
Yeah, because apparently they were filming at the same time as Deadpool was filming, so they probably would have been just walk across to the other lot and they could do it.
But now the timeline's even more fucked because those are like the 70s, 80s X-Men, but it's 2018 Deadpool. What is this?
That's true. Well, hey,
this
look,
timeline is messed up.
Yeah, maybe there's an extra deleted scene of like Deadpool cleaning up the timeline even more.
Yeah. Yeah, he gets a mop and starts trying to clean up the timeline.
No, Jupiter would do that. Yeah, he did a lot of mopping in this movie.
Yeah, Deadpool's just pissing on the bar stool. And the big guy with the beard is like trying to comfort him. And he's like, why do we even give you lines?
I liked how TJ Miller, he does that. He plays that character where he doesn't want to. He kind of like helps Deadpool, but he doesn't want to put his own life at risk. But he always he does this thing in this movie where he like phrases his cowardice in a way where it sounds heroic. Where he's like he was torturing me, but all I told him was everything he wanted to know. He's like so now I'm here to inspire you guys to go out and fight without me. He's like, so that we can take him out without me.
And he gets when he's being interrogated by Cable, he warns that it'll get like an awkward erection.
Don't look at it; it'll just make it worse. I love when he says to Cable, he's like, "I'll check my tactical bag. It's a fanny pack, and you damn well know
it." Yeah, there's the thing about Deadpool too. It kind of reminded me of a Mel Brooks movie, where even if one gag didn't work, it's okay because 10 seconds later there's going to be another gag for you to laugh at. Like the whole ratio of jokes per minute means that no matter what happens, something's going to stick and something's going to land. So it's really funny. It's consistently funny all the way through as well.
That's right. So I guess should we do final thoughts, final rating for Deadpool?
Yeah. I
unless
really enjoyed. Nah, I think that's more or less it. There's definitely going to be something because there's just so much going on in the movie. But I liked it a lot. So like Ryan Reynolds just completely continues to own the part. Zazie Beetz was awesome. I like the supporting cast for the most part. I think Cable was underwritten, but still he's there to complement Deadpool's character as opposed to it being the other way around. Peter was lovely. I hope Peter comes back for his own trilogy, for his own franchise. I'd appreciate that.
Sugar Bear.
Yeah, Peter Sugar Bear.
Go home, Sugar Bear. Never underestimate a man with a mustache.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I wish that Negasonic Teenage Warhead and her girlfriend had more to do because they were kind of like in the background with nothing to do.
And what was her girlfriend's superpower? She threw a sort of like energy generated chain at Juggernaut's feet at one bit. I know in the comics she doesn't really have superpowers. She's just kind of like a Captain America sort of type of really good fighter.
Yeah, she's like just a Captain America ninja. But I'm not sure. It was probably to do with like kinetic energy with a chain or something. I don't know. But I kind of like how she's the exact opposite of Negasonic in terms of her
Yeah.
relationship with Deadpool. Where Deadpool is like always trying to get Negasonic to crack a smile and like is always joking at her expense, and he's always like, "Hi, Yukio. Hi."
Hello, Wade. Yeah, that was really good. I like that too.
I thought that they played the role really well. And like, if you've seen like Brianna Hildebrand in any other role, you know that she's great. I just wish that she had more to do in here. But apart from that, I've got relatively few complaints. I don't think it's better than the first movie or worse. It's probably on par with it. It's in its own way for different reasons. It's more ambitious. There's more going on. But as a result, it means there's like more that could go wrong. It feels maybe a little bit baggy. Like the joke at the expense of putting a team together is really funny and it pays off really well. But it is a big chunk of the movie. It's a big chunk of that second act for it to be an anticlimax. So, but it's still a really funny film. I'd pay to see another Deadpool movie, although it's going to be like after the Disney merger. I think it might be a couple of years before we see a Deadpool 3 or any movement on it, because it's a complex like legal thing with Fox and Marvel and with the X-Men. But it's a really funny film, and once again it just shows that Ryan Reynolds was born to play this role. It's one of the best comic book performances ever. Even if it is comedic, it's still really worth acknowledging. So any final thoughts for you about it?
Yeah, I just absolutely loved it. The only other things I had left on my notes of things was Fat Gandalf got a speaking role in this, and it's his last one. Because Deadpool's like, no more speaking roles for you. And yeah, good job with Peter. I'm really looking forward to seeing Peter again. And I think there is, if you, for our listeners out there, there's a good, I think there's a good video on YouTube. I can't remember where it was, but it says, "Why does Peter look so familiar?" And he's got this whole, it's like, watch it if you can find it, because it's really interesting. Like that actor, like the story of like everything he's been through and all this, it's almost as interesting as the character of Peter. I kind of like, I can't separate the actor from the character of Peter now. Like when I think, like for that video where I think about, oh, so that actor, he wrote this book on depression and he went through this and that and he was in this. And I just think of that as Peter now. I just think of Peter did those things. So check it out if you can. So I'd probably give it, I'd say it's as good as the last one. It does what a sequel should do. It expands it out. And I don't really have any complaints. I think it's good.
Bookmark that recognizing Peter video and put it next to the white guy dancing video, and then watch that after this podcast is over. I gave the
Trey,
first Deadpool.
Trey, what did you think, Trey? Your final thoughts? Oh wait, he's not here. Is it? Where is he?
I thought you were gonna do a whole bit like, oh Trey, what do you think? Good.
Well, I sent him the link, but now he's disappeared off Skype, so I don't know what happened. I hope he's okay.
Hopefully.
All right.
But I gave the first Deadpool like an 8 out of 10, and I probably give Deadpool 2 the same, but for different reasons. I think that the two films complement each other really well.
Absolutely, yeah. They go hand in hand like Deadpool and Colossus.
Colossus's butt.
Okay, so let's jump into listener questions, ladies and gentlemen. You guys have been very generous with the questions. I've been copying and pasting them as we go. So thank you very much for that. If I missed any of your questions, perhaps when I went offline or if it just scrolled up and I didn't get to see it, my apologies for that. A lot of these questions are asking me what my opinions on different races are. I don't know what's up with that, but okay.
So, Bandit, why do you hate Dopinder?
Because of a poo. What? That's why I hate him. Yeah. It's like, all right. Now, I didn't, in copying and pasting these, I couldn't. Actually, I probably should have copied and pasted the person who, I should have copied and pasted the name of the person. So sorry, guys, I can't say the name of the person who.
Well, I can Control F if you find, like, if you name the question, read it out, and I'll Control F and try and find the actual person.
Okay, so first question is, what do you think about... Oh, wait, we've got to get to Super Chats first. What are we doing? Let me get to that.
That's true. Okay, here we go. I found it. Sam Heinrich asks, and Discord, what did you all figured out about a Discord? So was there talk of getting a Discord server?
Yes, he brought it up. I'm not sure if it was Sam or someone else brought it up. Should check out a Discord server as a way for everyone to chat. Yeah, I'm not sure whether adding like an extra avenue for people to communicate with the show would necessarily be a good thing, unless it sort of links in with the chat we already have for the live stream. I'm just a little concerned about if people are chatting in Discord and people are chatting here, and if people are leaving listener questions on Facebook and Twitter as well. Like trying to combine all that together could get a little bit insane. So I wonder if there is a way that I know a lot of the live stream shows do have Discord as well. So maybe there is a way to integrate it with the chat. So I'll check up on that, Sam. Thanks for the feedback. Thanks for the donation. We really appreciate it. But yes, definitely by the time we do live stream next week, I will have looked into that and I should have the sound drops working so I control everyone with these annoying sound drops during the show. Okay. So thanks again, Sam. So, okay, next question was, what do you think about the new Narnia reboot coming soon? I've heard very little about the new Narnia reboot.
Yeah, that question comes from Matthew Mann.
Ah, yes. Matthew had a lot of questions. I'm not sure how many of them are his, but there's a lot. Yeah, I haven't heard that much about the new Narnia reboot. I've seen it floating around the internet on the edges of my attention, but I haven't paid much attention to it. Are you a big fan of Narnia? You like the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe?
No, I believe it or not, I actually own all of the books. I've just never read it. The most I know about the Narnia series is because I used to work at for Christmas temp work when TV production work is pretty quiet. I worked at a DVD shop in a DVD Blu-ray home media shop in the UK, and people were after a Chronicles of Narnia box set. But because Disney were really annoying with the home media rights in the UK, they never got a box set in the UK. So people would be like, why can't I get these films? And it's like, well, we do have a box set of the BBC TV series from the 1990s, if you would like that instead. So that's really all that's the most I know about it. But I know that they were planning on doing a adaptation of The Silver Chair, which is the fourth in the trilogy. And it's going to be directed by Joe Johnston, who did Captain America: The First Avenger, the original Jumanji, and The Rocketeer. So I think it's in safe hands with Joe Johnston. It's just that news was announced over a year ago. It was going to be done through Sony, and I have no idea if any movement has been made on that. I don't think there's been any casting announcements or even a screenwriter attached to it. So. It's probably going to happen if Sony gets its shit together, but it's there's been no up.
Oh, Sony getting it together. Do you really think that's going to happen?
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. All I remember of the Narnia movies is I remember seeing the ones with Liam Neeson as the lion, and I remember enjoying them well enough. Yeah, I've just never really been into Narnia as much as say Lord of the Rings, and I know because the authors did sort of know each other, so they bounced ideas off each other. But yeah, I've always kind of been more of a Lord of the Rings guy. Okay, next question. What are your thoughts?
Narnia films came out in the wake of the Lord of the Rings, and it was clear they were just really trying to copy that formula. But yes, sorry to interrupt you. The next question.
Yeah, and I think Wizard of Oz, that book also came out at the same time. There was a lot of the idea of Wizard of Oz of going to another world and all this and all that. At least Lord of the Rings is set in its own Middle Earth, its own kind of universe. So, but this idea of going through a cupboard or a doorway and ending up in another world. Yeah, that's Alice in Wonderland again. Yeah, there's quite a few of them. They all sort of blend together in my mind after a while.
Yeah, that's
true. Next question is, what are your thoughts on the Charmed remake? Again, I know nothing about that.
I know nothing. That was also a Matthew Mann question. I'm gonna I don't know anything about Charmed. All I know is that it was a TV series, and I know that they're doing a reboot of the TV series. They might even be out now. I have no idea.
Yeah, maybe. Let's move on to the next one. What are your thoughts about the Thundercats reboot? I don't know. I don't know anything about this. I should really get
that question was. Yeah, that question was from Agi Lestrange. But yeah, Have you seen the footage of the new Thundercats redo that they're doing, the animated from Cartoon Network, a new animated Thundercats?
It's not with the puppets. Isn't Thundercats with the puppets?
No, it's no. You might be thinking of Thunderbirds.
Oh, that's it. Oh, yeah,
Thunderbirds had the puppet.
Thundercats. Right.
Thundercats was with Lion-O and Snarf Snarf, and they've got
I'm
a
really
new
not on
series.
my game this time, am I? I'm really not doing well with these questions.
Yeah, yeah. Cartoon Network are doing a series called Thundercats Raw, which is coming out in 2019. However, whereas Thundercats is well known for like in the 80s and 90s for being this whole macho machismo, muscly characters like with swords and epic fights and stuff like that. This Thundercats Raw, the footage looked like more something akin to Teen Titans Go or Steven Universe, with a much more bouncy, like much softer art style, where a lot of the characters seem to be mostly comprised of circles. It's a very, very different art style, and it seems to be like a very different approach from what fans were expecting. So there's been a bit of a backlash about it. It looks interesting and different and weird, and I think give the show a chance. But the amount of anger and venom online about it because of an art style change and that it may be a show for a different audience than it was originally intended for has really pissed off a lot of people.
Well, I suppose if the show's kind of known for one particular art form, I guess if they shift, it would. Yeah, I could see that would upset people. It'd be like if South Park suddenly went to like modern 3D digital animated stuff to be like, no, the point of South Park is they're like cheap paper cutouts. That's the charm of it.
Yeah, to be fair though, they did like reboot the Thundercats in like a TV series nearly 10 years ago. And the series did not do well. It was meant to run for like 50 episodes, but then halfway through the season, they thought no one's watching, we'll cancel it. So they tried to do that original art style, and now 10 years later, they're trying something radically different, and it's got a lot of attention. But whether or not that actually translates to any like viewership or like a dedicated audience when it comes out next year is a whole other thing entirely.
Okay, cool. Good question. So next one is, what do you prefer, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Alias, or Xena Warrior Princess? Well, I should probably say, being a Gen Xer, at the time that Xena Warrior Princess came out, I was a young man entering that time called puberty, and all kinds of hormones were going on. So Xena Warrior Princess made a certain impact on me. So I'd always have to go with Xena for just that reason. It's burned into my brain with the testosterone that was pumping through my veins at the time. How about you, Trilby? Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Alias, or Xena
as a
Warrior
filthy
Princess?
millennial who's ruining every industry, I have no attachment to any of these characters. Like Buffy, I've seen a few episodes of, but I've not watched any Xena Warrior Princess or any Alias.
No, Alias. Alias is pretty good too.
I've heard good things, but I've only watched like 4 episodes of Buffy. I like Anthony Head. I think he's a lot of fun in the series. But I'm afraid I have no allegiance to any of these characters. So that was also another question from Matthew Matt.
Yeah. So you so say, which do you prefer? So if there was a gun to your head and you had to pick one, which would you pick?
By default, Buffy. Because I actually have seen any of those episodes. Like I've not seen any Alias. I've not seen the most of Xena Warrior Princess I've watched is like the Simpsons parody when like Lucy Lawless is in the episode and she flies at the end and they say, "Wait, Xena can't fly. I told you I'm not Xena. I'm Lucy Lawless," which is one of the best jokes the show has ever done.
Yeah. Well, Xena is
Xena.
There's a lot of spin kicks in Xena because that was at a time when spin kicks were considered really cool. So there's a lot of spin kicks.
Spin kicks have never gone out of fashion. Spin kicks are still cool.
Now it's like with sword fighting they did spin kicks. Now they just do spinning with sword fights. It's like if there's someone like in a movie dual wielding like 2 swords, spin, lots of spinniness, spinning attacks. It's like,
yeah,
if you're sword fighting, you probably shouldn't expose your back to your enemy, but it looks cool. Spin fight, spin.
Strategically, it doesn't work.
Yeah, this guy's got a sharp, pointy, stabby thing. I'm just going to turn my back to him for a second as I spin. It's like, no, don't do that. Oh, my phone ringing again.
No, does that work again?
I'll answer it later. That's right. It's
all right. If you want to take question specifically for me that I could answer if you wanted to take that call.
Okay, sure.
1 second, I'll try and find it. I'm control effing all over this place. Oh, is Trey joining us now? Is Trey here?
Is Thundercats the one with the puppets?
Yeah, I think he meant Thunderbirds. Hello, Trey. How you doing?
Hey, Trilby. Hey, just having
okay?
a Monday. Yes, just having a very makeshift recording session here because I don't even have usually I have a cup that I hold my pop filter in to kind of keep it stationary because it doesn't touch my mic anymore because it's old. But today I'm just holding it. We're just having a little. I'm just helping you guys close out the podcast here, I guess. So we answer a few more questions. It's been quite the evening.
That's just that's so random. But yeah, we were just doing listener questions, and I was going to take one that was specifically for me because Bandit's taking a phone call. But now I feel bad doing that. So now that you're here, you've just shown up, and now we make it all about me.
Or maybe we can make the theory that Bandit and I are the same person because we're never on screen together. So every time it's oh, I gotta make a phone call, then I just show up.
Yeah. Let me go down to the basement and go get him, and then you pretend to do the steps down the desk.
All right. If you want to read the question, go ahead, Chill. You don't let me stop you.
Well, actually, this could go for you as well. It's I think that would be relevant. So the question is from Baby Wolf 42. Saying, Trilby, as an aspiring filmmaker, what exactly do you want to do? Do you just want to be a director, or do you also want to become a screenwriter, cinematographer, editor, etc.? Because Trey, I know that you also make movies and stuff like that. So is there anything that you're wanting to do specifically in the industry?
I remember answering a question like this, and I haven't been the wording sounds very familiar. We answered this one last week, at least towards me. When we had our.
Well, I wasn't here.
I know. That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, if those who weren't there last week, maybe I want to be a film director, which is essentially a person that works with the actors and kind of oversees the entire state of production. But yeah, the idea of crafting performances is more what I want to do. But I love how in the chat, people are just one person's really excited. Another person's hey, some random guy just joined in the chat. Another guy is the cruel tyrant, the bane of all puppies. No, but Trilby, why don't you kind of talk about what you want to do?
At the moment, in terms of media plans, I want to work my way up the assistant director ladder. You get third AD, which directs the background artists and helps out the first AD. There's the second AD who writes the call sheets and sorts out the logistics, and there's the first AD who is the director's right hand man essentially. So logistically, that is my next step to work up the AD ladder. But long term, I want to get into directing and writing my own projects, which would be a lot of fun. Hopefully, if it ever happens.
And that's when you invite me to your wedding, and I'll get to go to London.
It's still several years away. It can happen. We can logistically make it happen one day.
No, it's happening. I mean, you joke. I mean, look, if you don't want me to sit with the families, I'll just sit in the back and who's that black guy in the back? Don't worry about it. That's just a friend of mine.
Who's the one black guy at Trilby's wedding?
Wait. Okay, so fun story. Okay, quick side tangent, which is what this podcast is, by the way. Nothing but a series of side tangents. If I sound tired, but it's because I'm very tired. So every time I walk into a class, to walk into a specific class, my teacher, because every time I'm tardy, he yells late at and so he makes all the entire class shuns me. And they all scream late at everybody, and so it's just 30 kids telling you that you're late. And if you look in the chat, Aji Lestrange has just declared that I'm late. You're very observant, Mr. Lestrange.
Welcome, Trey. It only took you an hour and 40 minutes.
Well, to be fair, if I may, I have not seen Deadpool 2.
That's okay. Well, that's good because I was like, well, now that you're here, we're going to have to go back and talk about it. So it's actually good that you haven't seen it.
I'm not seeing it until next week, and I really don't want to see it very much. And to answer people's questions, I don't hate the first Deadpool. I think it's fine. I hear this one's
better. Well, that's okay. If you haven't seen it, let me just say this: no context, baby dick. Baby dick. No context. It's better if you don't give any context.
That's fine.
But yeah, I will say, Trey, do not look in the chat because you will find like spoilers from earlier, like when me and Bandit were talking about it. If you wanted to avoid spoilers,
I know. I know one thing that I guess the characters in it that I didn't know was in it. But I be honest with you, Trilby, I'm really not super like, oh, don't ruin it for me, because it's not like, I don't know. I'm seeing it next weekend. I'd have the courtesy of people that I want to go with. If they were like, let's go see Solo instead, then I would have seen Solo instead.
Yes, I imagine like Solo might be a priority for you to see next week as opposed to Deadpool 2. That's like
I hear Solo's kind of trash, so that's kind of the word on the street. So I mean, we'll talk about it next week, of course. But do we have any more questions? I keep interrupting.
Oh yeah, because I've been copy and pasting them throughout them. Some of these questions are a little bit internet-y. Like for example, this next question says, "What is your opinions on people with major deformities, diagnosis, disabilities, fractures, injuries, or contraptions?"
Wait, Matthew Mann, that is a weird question.
What do you think about disabled people?
They're people.
I think they're people too.
I think they're. I think they're everyone else. Okay, disabled people.
See, the hangout went really weird for us. It went like robot voice. So while you were laughing, Bandit, it sounded like a robot laugh, and it was really terrifying.
Oh no, there we go. I can hear you, Trilby.
Can you hear me now? I think Bandit's breaking up.
What's going on? This sounds really crazy to me. I can hear snippets of you guys. Can you guys hear me?
You sound like a robot.
Okay, I can hear you. Okay, just
Bandit died again.
you guys talk. I'll fix it up.
I feel like this is my fault.
Yeah, Trey, there was a joke earlier when Bandit had to go take a phone call and the chat wanted to know what was happening and they thought that Thanos had clicked his fingers and that Bandit had left. And now the podcast was perfectly balanced.
Well, I don't feel so good.
Trilby, I don't want to go.
Gone but not forgotten. I forget what the question. Oh, I was just gonna tell Ben that we do not have to read every question in the chat because some people just want attention and are gonna ask dumb questions, and that kind of.
And also, Matthew Mann has asked like 10 questions, and we seem to be answering all of his questions.
Yes, so I think there's a matter of filtration that must go into answering his questions whenever he finally joins us again. Yeah, if you guys want your question answered on the show, make it not necessarily relevant to what we're talking about, but something that we'd like to answer. Not what we think of disabled people, because as someone who has asthma and eczema, it's not that big a deal. Yeah, I never got to have fun in gym class.
Gym class is never fun.
Yes. Do we have any other questions here? Or we're waiting on Bandit to get this together.
Yes, we'll see. Bandit, he copied and pasted them from the chat, but I'm scrolling through now. I'm trying to find questions that aren't from Matthew Mann. Like as we appreciate your listening and viewership, Matthew. We cannot answer questions just from you. So I'm trying to find. Did you
already answer this one from Diego Gonzalez? What do you think makes a good villain?
I hadn't asked that one. No. Okay, yeah. I found it a moment ago. Okay, yeah. Diego Gonzalez asks, "What do you think makes a good villain?" I think they need to be cool, interesting, or sympathetic. If they're not, they're just boring. That makes sense. As the qualities that make a good character in general also just go towards making a good villain. Like with Thanos, even though you don't necessarily agree with what he's doing, as long as you understand his thought process and his reasoning, and like some of the best villains are the ones who think they're the good guy, who think that they're doing right, and that's one of the best ways to go. Although there is merit to a villain just showing up and just being an asshole because they really enjoy it, like say Hela from Thor Ragnarok.
I can agree with that. There's this YouTube channel who random plug Lessons from the Screenplay, who does I think great work on the YouTube channels. He's one of the video essayists, and he makes a great point about villains and how some of the best antagonists are the ones that are good at attacking the protagonist's weaknesses. And he brought the example of how in The Dark Knight, Bruce Wayne has to become the Dark Knight in order to stop the Joker, and how they create this kind of symbiotic relationship with one another. And I think that's, and you can even look at something like Logan and how he has to fight X-24, which is a little representation of this animalistic instincts. Like, I think in the script, he's known as, it's like the fight called Logan versus the Wolverine, and he literally has to fight a version of himself to save his future in the physical form of Laura. So I think a good villain, you should probably write him as a good character for sure, but also you should consider what he does to your hero and why he is antagonizing your hero. Is it because maybe the hero, maybe because the villain is right and the hero is simply trying to get through something, like a cop hunting down, like maybe the protagonist is a mob boss and the cop is the antagonist? Or is it something along the lines of the antagonist is literally just a physical representation of this obstacle, of maybe a lesson that a character needs to learn, like in something like Steve Jobs, I guess, where the antagonist of the story is this recurring feeling of failure that runs around Steve's life in the form of these 5 people. Yeah, that's just a quick little lesson on character, I guess.
Yeah, but there's also, speaking of villain stuff, there was in the news today that Jake Gyllenhaal is in talks to play Mysterio in the Spider-Man Homecoming sequel that comes out in July 2019. Which I don't know if Jake Gyllenhaal is the perfect casting for that, but I love Mysterio as a concept. I think he's I
always thought he'd be a
character.
Great Gyllenhaal, I think he'd be a great Joker.
I think so, yeah, especially after watching Nightcrawler. God,
he could pull it off so well.
But yeah, I think Mysterio, who, like, for those of you who don't know, in the comic books, Mysterio is he's his alter ego. I forget his name, but he's essentially a special effects expert in Hollywood. He's a great magician, so he uses illusions and his stunt work and his trickery to rob banks and try and fight Spider-Man. And he's got a big fishbowl head, and he's an easy character to mock, but he's also, I think, a really easy character to make really inventive action set pieces out of. So years ago, when they were first talking about bringing Spider-Man into the MCU, and we were talking about what villains we see, Mysterio was one of the ones that I threw out. And hi, Bandit, welcome back.
Hello. Sorry about that, guys.
I love the difference between me and Bandit's entrances. Like, I wait to make a dramatic entrance and have a cool line match. Like, hey, I'm here. I'm back. Okay. Now let me.
What's weird? I am on shitty hotel Wi-Fi, and I am the one who has not dropped out.
That's what I thought. I was like, oh, for God's sake, gonna have to get that fixed. But look, I sent you guys. I copy and pasted the questions to you guys on Skype. So if I drop out again, you still got the questions there. Which question are you on?
I've been going through the chat, and like 99% of them were from Matthew Mann. But we had one from we had one talking about what makes great villains, and we just used that opportunity to talk about Jake Gyllenhaal being in talks to play Mysterio in the Spider-Man sequel.
Awesome, cool, sounds good.
Okay,
so
any more questions?
Next one. What do you think about the older Planet of the Apes franchise?
He doesn't want to see Deadpool 2. Shame, Disney sellout. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Yes, I say because I loved Infinity War. It was so great. Okay. What was the? Sorry. What was the?
What do you think about the older Planet of the Apes franchise compared to the new ones, excluding the Mark Wahlberg one? So, new Planet of the Apes versus older ones.
Did Caesar die in War for the Planet of the Apes? Spoilers, I guess, if you haven't seen it. Is he gone? Like, did he die at the end of the third one? I didn't see it.
Yeah, yes. He did. He died at the end of the last one. I think, when it comes to the old movies, let's face it, the first one's the only good one. And even then, there's still a lot of stuff in it that's very reflective of the time it was made in. But I think the new Planet of the Apes franchise is absolutely fantastic. I often point to it as an example of a way to do like remakes and stuff, but do them in a way where you bring something new and interesting and it adds to what came previously. Yeah. So I have nothing but praise for the new Planet of the Apes movies. I think they're great. it
quite enjoyed Rise a lot. I think it's it doesn't get enough love these days because I think it's more good has come after it. But I really enjoyed Dawn as well. I just think it's one of the most cliched movies on planet Earth, which is a shame. It's very well made. It's very well crafted. Andy Serkis does a fantastic job. The music's really fun, but I don't know. It's like let's take every movie ever and put it into a movie about apes. I didn't see the third one. I just didn't have the time in the end. I lost interest. But
Not enough poop throwing for me, says the chat. Thank you, you versus me. Yeah, there should be more poop throwing. All right. So, a question says, "What do you think about R.L. Stine as an author and writer?"
He's fun.
I mean, let me ask you, Bandit. Do you know who R.L. Stine is?
I'm googling it now.
No, that's cheating. You're gonna mess up the Google Hangout. Get off the internet. I love it. I love how he asks the questions like, "I'm gonna Google who that is" because I feel like that name sounds familiar. I think he's a fun writer. He's like a kid version of Stephen King. You know, he's a nice kind of
Goosebumps. There we go.
Yes, good job, Bandit. Welcome back. He's a nice kind of transition period from something like Scooby-Doo into something more serious, like a horror Stephen King novel.
And he looks nothing like Jack Black.
Well, I mean,
No,
if you put on weight, he might be able. I could see it.
Well, I think any white guy who puts on weight is going to look a bit like Jack Black if they grow enough facial hair.
Yeah, grow a beard and all that. All right, so
I
that was
saw
good.
Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, and Jack Black is so funny in that.
That's a good movie, man. I'm telling you, like everyone,
Yeah,
it made $1 billion
flight.
for a reason. Yeah, it moved a lot of money. It's good. It's and Jack Black's really funny.
The scene with Jack Black and Karen Gillan, like he's teaching her how to flirt. That is really funny,
and it's oddly tasteful. Like for a movie where like a 50-year-old guy has to pretend he's like a 16-year-old girl, it's not weird. I mean, it's weird, but it works. It's not like uncomfortable. Yeah. It's really well done, and I think it's Lawrence Kasdan's kid is the one that made that one, didn't he? Which makes sense.
For anyone who's in the same boat as me and doesn't know who R.L. Stine is, there should be his profile up on screen there for everyone to see. Screen shares.
Screen share. I like living in the future. It looks nothing like Jack Black, but R.L. Stine is like a kid's version of Stephen King. So I'll just copy what Trey said and pretend that I said it myself to be really original.
Okay. Next question is, what do you think of television shows like Rome, Spartacus, and Game of Thrones? I love it. I got a major hard-on for the medieval stuff right now. I'm going through a phase. And
that's quite the expression there. Sorry, it cuts me off guard. I was sipping water.
Game of Thrones. Well, I mean, they're moving more into the fantasy elements now with the White Walkers and all that, the White Walkers and the dragons and the magic and blah, 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 blah. But I'll watch Game of Thrones when it comes back. I suppose. Yes.
Yeah. You're pretty against it at the end of the last season. I remember the conversation we had. You're like, "I'm done. We're not doing this anymore." I'm like, "Really?" He's like,
I was. But then my rant video got like 145,000 views, so I was like, okay, I can hate watch it, and people like me ranting about how much it sucks. I'll do that. I'll get those views. Just give me those views. Ooh, yeah, I love those views.
I think Game of Thrones is a fantastic piece of television. I think season 7 flaunted a bit. I think season 7 fell. We're in the end game now, to quote Doctor Strange. We're in Act 3 of a story, and Trilby, who I presume still hasn't seen it, we won't talk about it too much. But the kind of conniving political chess with people's lives that kind of made the show very interesting in its early seasons has subsided now to good guys, bad guys, let's kind of save the world, which I'm fine with because I'm sorry, I tapped my mic, which I'm fine with because, the action's fun and Jon Snow's a great guy and it's really nice to see. I just wish Tyrion Lannister had something to do in the last 3 seasons because he has not done anything in the last 3 seasons. And I'm like, what is he going to do?
Yeah.
Which is, okay. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I am a little bit more interested now that I've seen that theory of that Littlefinger could still be alive, that the person who died at the end was one of those faceless men who sacrificed themselves, because they do that. They're willing to die in place of other people. We've seen that done before. And they can wear the faces of people who are still alive. And there's a fan theory out there of like few episodes before when Littlefinger died, he has a shadowy meetup with someone who you assume is just one of his messengers, one of his little spies, but he hands her like a coin of Bravos. And when they cranked up the audio, she says, "Your time's up." So they've said perhaps that was like he realized with his conversation with the three-eyed raven that his time's up, so he staged his death to trick him. So, like, I doubt they'll do that in the show, but I'm still, in my mind, I'm going to imagine that Littlefinger's out there somewhere still. He's not dead. And he's going to come and he will sit on the Iron Throne.
I know. I was trying to avoid spoilers. Christ almighty. Sorry about that, Trilby. Nothing. Don't worry. Ignore him.
I've tuned out of this conversation to do some rendering because my podcast is going on YouTube tomorrow, so I'm like writing the description for it since it's uploaded.
Absolutely. No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Smart man.
Because when I was in Canada last week, I saw 6 in-flight movies on my trip there and back. So my podcast is just reviewing all 6 of those movies.
Mm.
What movies were they?
So, sorry?
What movies were they?
The Post, Jumanji, Ferdinand, Molly's Game, Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman, and Paddington 2. Although I'd already seen Paddington 2.
Yeah. You know what was surprisingly awful? Molly's Game. I didn't like it very much. Very upset.
I thought it was okay, but it was basically like Aaron Sorkin spending 2.5 hours like showing off how many books and famous figures he knows and can quote off on hand.
Like it's Jessica Chastain talking to herself for like 2 hours. There's so much narration, and all she does is just talk.
I also didn't like how Kevin Costner just arrives in the 3rd act and essentially mansplains her character development.
I didn't think about it really that way.
It just felt really out of place. But,
you can. It's nice to know that he's trying to make a competent female character, but I just because he's not particularly been great at those in the last few years. But I don't know. And I guess how do I say?
I think
this?
I liked it more than you, but it's something I'm not really going to remember in the near future. But yeah, Ferdinand was good. Should have been great. Really disappointed by it, and I didn't think I'd have that reaction to it.
All right.
Okay, so we got a question of what do you guys think of the rating scale platform based on looks for individuals from 0 to 10, of like, oh, she's a 10 or she's a 6 or he's a 7 or whatever. I love it. I think it's great. You know what's great about the rating system for looks is like when sometimes like when I'm out and about and you're like down at the shopping center or whatever and there's lots of people walking around, whenever you see couples walking around, look and you'll notice they're never more than 2 points apart on the scale of looks. Like you might see a couple of 6s walk past, you might see a 7 and a 9 walk past, or you might see the 10, but what's the guy? He's an 8. Yeah, do that next time you're at the movies and there's couples walking around. Rate them all on that scale. You see 2-point rule.
That's one way to think about it.
And I'll tell you something else. This is good news.
Didn't the last time we gave people numbers was like 70 years ago in that war we don't like to talk about? Why are we still giving people numbers? I feel like that's kind of wrong.
Why are you bringing up Hitler, Trey? Leave that to the chat. We've already had a few Hitler did nothing wrongs in there.
I'm just saying. I feel like we're done. I feel like we should be done giving people numbers. Isn't that? There's a Black Mirror episode about that, isn't there? About rating people and why that's a bad idea.
Yeah. But I'll tell you something. There's good news for all us ugly guys out there. Is like no matter how ugly you are, put in a little bit of effort. Even the most ugly, weirdest guy can get you at least a 5 out of 10. At least a 5 out of 10. And then from 5 out of 10, you can get a girl who's a 7, and that's pretty good.
Diego.
So that's hope for everyone.
Oh man. All right. Well, there's no reason to attack me. Oh Jesus! You see that, Chuck? See, this is what you've started. We at the Weekly Planet. Whoops. We at the Movie Mania podcast do not objectify people by giving them numbers. We do not condone that activity, and please do not go around rating people, please.
But we do respond to every question we get, no matter what it is. I mean, if we answer that question about have you ever the one last week, you remember the one last week?
Yes, I remember.
You remember that one?
I've not listened to last week's podcast yet.
Oh,
we're not going to go up. We're not going to talk about it.
Oh, we have
I look forward to listening to it.
Go ahead, tell him, Dre. Tell him what the question was.
I'm drawing the line at those types of questions.
Guys in the chat, you remember what that question was?
Someone remembers what the question was.
Probably the guy who made it is still there. Write it in so Trilby will know.
Jesus Christ.
All right. Let's move on to the
Thanks, man. Let me know.
Next question.
Let me know.
Next question is, do you like tattoos and piercing? Do any of you guys have tattoos or piercing? I don't.
No, I watch movies. Speaking of which, movie podcast.
You could have a movie tattoo.
I have neither. I don't trust. I don't trust myself to get a tattoo because I don't trust my own taste. Like as of right now, I don't know if something I like right now that I get a tattoo of, I'll like in 2 or 3 years' time.
Yeah, or it's it's like those guys with the wire around the bicep tattoo. I'm sure that was cool at the time, but now we all laugh at you. Yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of piercing or tattoos, like especially on women, because it's like whether it's a man or a woman, you see someone with like clear skin with good skin, you go, oh, that's beautiful. And it's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to draw all over it and scar myself and stick pins through my skin. It's like, no, just nice clear skin. That's attractive. Just you don't have to put tattoos all over everything. That's just the way I think, anyways.
So my fiance's got 2 tattoos. She's got one on her wrist and one on her foot, just like 2 small ones. But yeah, she wants me to get tattoos, but like I said, I don't trust my own personal taste, so it's not something I ever plan to do in the near future.
You know, you ought to get a TARDIS. I mean, that's not changing, is it? I mean, I feel like you've kind of always been that guy.
Yeah, but do I want a big blue box on my arm?
No, just get like a little thing on your back. You know what I'm saying? Like people hear tattoos and they think that you gotta get like a giant sleeve tattoo of the TARDIS on your shoulder.
Yeah, but when you said just get one on your butt, I thought you were gonna say get a TARDIS on my butt.
I mean, you can do that too. No one will ever see it except your fiance.
Well, the TARDIS is about to fly through a black hole. That's how it works. You versus me in the chat says, I have a Milli Vanilli tattoo. No regrets. Good for you, mate. I'm rocking it. I'll tell you what, if I ever got drunk enough to actually have a tattoo, I know what it would be though. I would have the tattoos on the inside of my index fingers, like where your index finger meets your middle finger, like on the inside there. And on the right hand, I'd write the word right. And on the left index finger, I'd write wrong. So that way I could point up at my face with right and wrong. And with my right finger, I could say, I am right. And then with my left one, you are wrong. And I could point with the left finger.
One weird trend
that'd be the tattoo I'd get just for that joke.
One weird trend I've seen of tattoos is that people get like little cartoon like Charlie Chaplin mustaches on their finger, so they can hold it up to the top lip and like be like, "Oh, I've got a mustache," and it's like, "Great, cool, go you." Like that's like a weird tattoo trend that I've seen from these bloody millennials and their tattoos.
I wonder how many Wakanda tattoos we're going to see now. You reckon people are going to get inside of their lip tattoos of like glowing blue? They probably could.
Oh yeah, I mean, idiots. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, there's no shortage.
Dangerous.
All right, let's move on. Man, all these racial questions. What is your experience with Maoris from New Zealand? They're awesome. I love Maoris.
We can skip the racial questions.
Actually, I have some good stuff to say about that. Actually, there's a great.
Although I
great
was
channel.
We only do like 1 or 2 more questions because I'm at work in like 3 hours and I need to go back to sleep soon.
Oh yeah. Sorry, mate. Yeah, I'll be quick. There's a history review channel where he talks about where the British fought the Maoris in this big battle and how the Maoris just wiped them out. And they had this really cool strategy where they'd built this big sort of fortress mound of dirt and the British were like bombing it because they were firing artillery to bomb it because they're hitting the flag. But the Maoris deliberately stuck the flag outside their fort. So from the angle that they're at, the British are like, bomb the flag, that's in the center. But they were just bombing like empty land. And then when they busted into the fort, they dug all these hidey holes under the ground. So they'd be going through the fort and they'd be like, oh, it's empty. And then these big Maoris would just burst out of the ground and be like, wah! And just like spear them. And it was like, it's a really cool story. Like the Maoris were actually very, very sophisticated in their battle tactics. And yeah, I love the Marys.
You make history come to life. Diego Gonzalez says in the chat, Trilby, you're a millennial. Yes, that's the joke.
Okay, which brand do you prefer? Lego, Walt Disney, Warner Brothers, Universal, ABC, or Nickelodeon? Lego, Walt Disney.
Some of those are the same people, aren't they? Aren't like Disney and ABC the same company?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'd probably have to go with Disney just because they own a lot of the good stuff. You know, so that's probably the safest bet to go with. Warner Brothers, no.
And like Lego is a great like toy concept, but I wouldn't really call it a brand akin to say Disney, who have got like a whole empire of different original media, whereas Lego more or less adapts media that we like into like Lego, a consumable, playable form. So I wouldn't go for Lego.
I know what Trey's favorite brand is. Miramax.
Why?
Harvey Weinstein's company.
That's the Weinstein Company.
Yes. Bam.
What? Bam, you've been raped.
Bam, you have been raped. Yes, that's why he likes Miramax. It's Harvey Weinstein's. That was a multi-layered reference there.
His favorite company is Skinamax.
Is what?
Skinamax.
Skinamax. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, Trilby. Since you got to get some sleep, do you want to like pick the question you want to end on or something?
Oh! Now it's on me. Let me.
Only if you want to. I mean.
Okay. Well, this has got a question mark on it, so I'm assuming it's a question. Hail Hydra. That was just a question in the chat.
We're not ending on Nazis. I'm not allowing it.
I saw one saying. I saw one saying. Go ahead.
Ubermensch-Han66 says, "What are your thoughts on steamed hams?" Like, for those of you who don't know, steamed hams is a Simpsons sketch from like 22 Tales About Springfield, where Seymour Skinner makes steamed clams for Superintendent Chalmers, but the food is ruined, so he goes to Krusty Burger and he gets all these burgers. These are Skinner burgers, and it's become a weird meme rabbit hole on YouTube. Like, if you watch one steamed ham edit, your recommendeds are full of steamed hams for the next 2 weeks. Wow. And that rabbit hole is fun to go down. There's some really funny ones, like steamed hams, but Superintendent Chalmers and Principal Skinner keep talking over each other. One, but it's in the style of Blade Runner. One, but Principal Skinner is much better at lying. There's so many funny, great ones. But what do you folks think of this whole meme?
Well, it's new to me, but I'll tell you what, I'm definitely going to check out some steamed ham in the future because I want to see those recommendations. I want to see them pop up. I want to go down that rabbit hole. Where could it possibly take me? I don't know.
What about you, Trey? Do you have any thoughts on steamed hams?
I think memes are pretty stupid. Why have I grown to become the cynic of the podcast? I don't like this. I used to be so cheerful and hopeful.
Because you're getting old.
I used to be so cheerful and hopeful, and I used to love everything, and now I'm just over here just like, God, let's just talk about the movie that I didn't like and answer the question.
I'm going to go see Star Wars this weekend. It's probably going to be bad.
Yeah, that's me. Like, honestly, like this.
Well, we got. Oh, can you guys hear me? I haven't dropped out again, have I?
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, we got 7 questions left. They could take a while. So do you want to sign out, Trilby? Where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm yawning and dying here. You can find me online on Trilby Reviews on Twitter and on YouTube. You can also find my own podcast, the Film Brits Podcast, on iTunes and also on my YouTube channel. And you can also find me on my other YouTube channel, Mr. Sardis Reviews, where I talk about TV and more Doctor Who related content and stuff like that. So are you guys going to stick around or are you guys signing off as well?
yeah, we'll finish the questions. We only got a couple left, and thank you,
Cool.
Trilby, for coming along, because you really did save the stream. Because if you hadn't shown up, it would have been me talking to myself for an hour and a half, and then Trey
It was
showing up,
touch and
and
go
us,
to whether or not I would
and
stay
then us not
awake.
being able to talk about Deadpool 2 because he hasn't seen it. So thank you very much, Trilby.
Yeah, but this is a fun podcast. But yeah, I'm going to sign out, guys.
The whole thing ain't my fault.
But yeah, Trey, good to briefly chat with you though, and yeah, fun podcast, Bandit. And chat, I will see you folks hopefully next week, where we'll likely be talking Han Solo.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah,
Is that the
we
plan?
will come out for them.
Do you guys still want to do the Christmas special? Or are we not doing the Christmas special next week?
We can save it. I mean, I don't mind.
This is a conversation that I should not be having at 4 a.m, because I will regret everything I say. Like,
Yeah.
I will be like, yeah, sure, I'll talk about the Star Wars holiday special. It's like, no, I was not in a sound state of mind then. I shouldn't have agreed to that.
Sure. Well, if Han Solo is coming out over the weekend, we have to review Han Solo on the Monday.
Yes,
Yeah.
we'll review Solo next Monday.
All right, well, until
Okay,
then,
thanks for
folks,
coming, Trilby.
Yeah,
thanks for having me. And see you folks next week.
Okay, so next question says, have you ever watched True Blood, Being Human, Teen Wolf, Vampire Diaries, the originals, Supernatural, Grimm, and Charmed?
I was
I've
hoping
watched some of them.
I was hoping one of those shows would be good. I was like, you're reading the list, and was like, okay, no, that sucks. No, that sucks. No, that sucks. No, that really sucks. Charmed has this nice 90s, cheesy, early 2000s, like weird, like this really weird, kind of obscure but fun look to it. But everything else is just awful. It's just pretty people problems with the supernatural stuff. I mean, Teen Wolf was okay, I guess. It's got some cool action, I guess. True Blood has nudity and F-bombs in it. It's like Game of Thrones meets Twilight, I guess. But if you took all the bad of Twilight and all the violence of Game of Thrones.
Well, Matthew Mann also asked, he said, what about Bones, Castle, X-Files, CSI, and Law and Order? I'm a Law and Order man.
Me too.
Because I like that dun-dun sound they make. You know,
have you heard of the comedian John Mulaney, Bandit? I'm not sure if we've talked about this kid.
Tell me.
He is hilarious, and he has this great bit that I won't be able to do justice about Law and Order SVU and how Ice-T always has this. He asked the same questions for the last 13 years of the show, despite him being on this force for like 20 years. He's like, you mean to tell me this guy likes diddling kids? And they're like, yes, Ice-T. And then John goes, I can watch Ice-T figure out that a guy's a pedophile for 20 hours, and it's the funniest bit. And then Law and Order was on TV the next morning, and I was just like, he's absolutely right. Every episode, it's just like something serious happens, they have some dramatic music, and then Ice-T makes sure the audience come up to speed with child rapists. It's a really good show. It's
I
fun
saw
television.
I saw an interview with Ice-T where he said after he first got that job on the show, and there was like some crossover from his old fans, and his fans would be like, Ice-T, you the cops. And he said, no, I'm not the cops. He goes, I act like the cops. I pretend to be the cops. I act like the cops because it's called acting. And they'd be like, yeah, acting. I want to be an actor too. It's like, maybe learn what acting actually is then.
Well, everyone has a different paths in life. That's hilarious. I'm not actually the cops. I'm just acting like the cops. That's amazing.
I remember Ice-T. The only other thing I really remember about Ice-T is he says, someone asked him, why don't you ever have bodyguards? And he said, because I don't want to miss a good fight. Oh, world star. Good job.
He also is one of the best characters on Rick and Morty.
Is he in there?
He's
the guy who's like, my man. He's that guy.
No. He's not. No, he's not actually. I don't think he actually voices Ice-T in the show. But in the episode Get Swifty, they get all the world's artists together to make a song for the aliens, and all they have is a Rick, Morty, and Ice-T, and it's just him sitting around eating Fig Newtons, and then he turns out to be an alien, and he has to go like save his planet. Anyways,
it's weird. I don't remember anything about that. How could I forget that? Remember those other obscure Ice-T stuff? I don't know. Okay, so next question is, what do you think about the Lord of the Rings remake coming to Amazon Prime? Oh, so many remakes. I don't know about it. Do you know about this, Trey?
Well, I think it's one of those questions of like, what do you think of X, or who should be good for X, or should person A direct the project B? I think when you break it down with all these remake questions, if the original will still be there no matter what happens, and if they get a competent filmmaker to put it together, and they're respectful to the source material and all that, then they should be just fine. And if people don't like it, they can just go back and watch the original. Simple as that.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let me just combine together some of these questions for the last one, which is okay. There's one, and then there's three others. I'm going to combine those three into one question because it's another. What do you think of this franchise? We'll just group them all together. First, do you think another Indiana Jones would be necessary? No, I don't want another Indiana Jones. I don't care if Harrison Ford thinks he can still do it. He can't. I don't want Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones again, and I don't want a younger actor Han Soloing it as well. It's like, no, just let it go. Crystal Skull had a shot and it's over. Just don't beat that dead horse anymore. Just let Indiana Jones be the great Nazi punching world adventurer and lover of the Middle East before that was considered a bad thing that he used to be. Let's just keep him as that. We don't need any more Indiana Jones. What do you think, Trey?
Spielberg hasn't made a good movie in like 20 years. So, I mean, I'll let him make it if he wants to make it. I'm more interested in West Side Story. Like, I think isn't he doing that? He's doing West Side Story, which I'm really excited for because, it's Spielberg and it's a big musical, and I hope he shoots it on film because he's a smart man.
Going to be a musical as well.
Yeah. So it's it's him doing the musical. Yes, which I'm far more excited for that than the prospect of an Indiana Jones movie.
What about a musical Indiana Jones?
See, now we're talking. See, now we're interested in something more.
I punched the Nazis over.
Fun fact about that guy. That reminds me of a story about that guy, John Mulaney. But we don't have time to talk about that guy. You should just watch his comedy specials are on Netflix. And everyone who does not know who John Mulaney is, please watch John Mulaney because he's a very funny man. If you do we have another question?
Yes. Okay, I'm going to combine these last ones. Okay, what do you think about the Tron series, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Pirates of the Caribbean? So that was three questions. I'm combining them all together. What do you think about the Tron series? I haven't seen it. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., is anyone even still watching that? Why? And Pirates of the Caribbean saga? Yeah, they've kind of run out of steam, but I think that's... I've kind of soured on Johnny Depp, but him still playing that character, I do like his Jack Sparrow. I can tolerate him as Jack Sparrow, and but you can cut him from everything else he's been in. How about you, Trey? What do you think? Tron series, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Pirates of the Caribbean.
Like Tron Legacy. I think it's the first Tron is this kind of classic pulp cult 80s movie, but the first Tron Legacy I think has pretty decent effects, minus Jeff Bridges obviously.
He means the movies. I thought Tron series he meant there's a TV show of Tron.
Oh, well, the TV show Tron whatever, I think it's called Tron Evolution or something like that. It's fine. It's an
I can talk about the movies. So I just said a series. I don't know if there is a series, but the movies I can talk about. Sorry, go ahead.
Legacy I think has like one of the best movie soundtracks ever. I think Daft Punk excelled beyond what a movie soundtrack can be of that movie. The movie is essentially just a 2-hour Daft Punk music video at that point because it's clear that it's the best thing about that movie. But besides the killer soundtrack, I think it's shot pretty well. And I think that people don't like Garrett Hedlund, I think his name is, but I think he did a good job playing the kind of generic white leading man. And there are certain points in that movie where I find myself experiencing genuine emotion, which is amazing because all of it takes place in literally a computer. What was the last thing we talked about?
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Could not care less. First one's pretty fun. Second one's actually good. And then I hate the others. All right, there you
go. Okay. Hulk Poozer in the comments was like, oh, my question isn't going to get answered. I'll tell you what, we'll make an exception for you, Hulk Poozer. Give it a shot. One more. Why not? One more. Also, I did notice one of the questions was, is Thanos going to snap the Jews out of existence? No, only half.
I keep telling myself, don't let him make these jokes. Don't let him make these comments.
No,
we get 1,000.
Yeah.
We get 1,000 views every episode, and every time thinking we're gonna lose, I'd be like, we're gonna lose at least another 100 because band's gonna make some comment about women in their clothing or some comment about killing the Jews, and it's just gonna ruin everything. But every time he makes it, I laugh, so I'm part of the problem. You've been okay.
I've been good recently. I've been trying to tone it down a bit, and as a result, I've been called an SJW a few times in the comment section.
Yes,
yeah, I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to tone it down a bit.
I haven't seen the original Logan's Run. Hulkpalooza. That was his question. Should they remake Logan's Run? I haven't seen the original Logan's Run, but my statement on remakes still stand. If you get a competent filmmaker to do it and they respectfully adapt the story, then I don't see why not.
Yeah, well, Logan's Run kind of was remade in the movie The Island, wasn't it?
Oh, okay.
That was Logan's Run, wasn't it? Hang on, let me I'll get a picture so people know the movie.
Yeah.
But Logan's Run, yeah, it was basically where there's all these people who are mentally kind of like children. They're sort of raised particularly to be sort of mentally like children. And they all think that they're living in this society. And if they're really good, they get to be moved to the island. But of course, the island is they just kill them and harvest them for parts that they can then sell to rich people who like need a new heart or a new liver or a new brain or something like that. So that's the island, and that's also Logan's Run. Let me see, where is it? Here we go. Screen share for people. Screen share. Come on.
This is funny. I actually turned off visibility. Oh, okay.
That's Logan's Run right there. Yeah, Scarlett Johansson and Ewan McGregor. Yeah, it was an all right kind of movie, but yeah, there's a lot to that idea. There's a lot to that theory of like it's sort of been reflected in a couple different movies. So I'd like to see it being done again. It's one of those ideas that there's a lot to sort of get from it. There's a lot of juice you can squeeze out of it. So yeah, totally.
I agree.
Hello, you're doing a bit Affleck there.
Yes, I agree.
Hang on, people in comments are saying I got that wrong. That wasn't. Apparently, that wasn't. Okay, whatever. I don't know. I must have got it wrong. So, Trey, where can people find you?
Thank you guys all for listening. I know I joined in rather late today, but I had an orchestra thing tonight. We performed at a giant kind of concert hall in town, and then I got home and I had to eat dinner. And I didn't think I was going to join the podcast in time, but I came back in time to answer some questions. We'll be back next week to talk Solo in all its, I presume, mediocrity.
Soilo. That's the politically correct title of the movie.
Yeah, people can find me on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Podcast Media. Somebody has found my Snapchat, and I don't know how they found my Snapchat, but do not tell people my Snapchat, please. I know who you are. And if I see you contacting me again, you're going to be banned because you have sent me things that I do not want in my feed. So do not find my Snapchat, please.
Are you getting trolled? Are you? Is it a bit of traitoring?
No, this is more than hate talk. This is bad. This is inappropriate things that you don't like to get sent at 2 a.m.
Really?
which makes me think that it's somebody like overseas, because who sends things at 2 a.m. unless you're drinking? At which point, don't contact me, you creep. But anyways,
are we talking like, I know where you live, I'm going to come find you? Or are we talking like, hey, here's a picture of my ass? Are we talking about
yeah, the latter.
Maybe you don't want to say on live stream. I don't know.
I'm trying to be coy because in case people are like, I'm going to do that now. So just like, I know who you are. You select few of people and stop it. Otherwise, I'm going to report you and you just won't have a Snapchat anymore, or have to change my name or something like that. Anyways,
keep the trolling to the comment section,
please. That being said, fans, where can people find you?
People can find me right here on the YouTube channel, as well as Facebook and Twitter as Bandit Incorporated. And thank you all for watching. All of you in the chat and watching us live stream, we very, very much appreciate it. We are going to make, actually I forgot to tell you this, Trey. Yes. We are going to make a return of putting this as a podcast, so that if you guys aren't able to watch it on YouTube, but you want to listen to it on your phone when you're out driving around or walking or working at the gym or whatever. So it will be available on iTunes again. We're going to... Yeah. Well, Trilby said, because he still has his account where he does the Film Brits, he says we can combine it with that, and then you can get Film Brits and Movie Mania all combined on the one thing. So it'll be available on there. Once it's out, we'll put the links for all that, but you should be able to search it on Trilby's channel. So yes, thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you for all the wonderful comments in the chat, and we will see you later, our movie maniacs.
Woo!